As you step into the heart of ancient Alexandria, the air is vibrant with the sounds of bustling markets and the distant crash of waves against the shore. You can feel the warmth of the Mediterranean sun on your skin as it begins to set, casting a golden hue over the city. The streets are alive with merchants hawking spices, scholars debating philosophy, and citizens going about their daily lives, unaware of the extraordinary events about to unfold. You find yourself drawn toward the grand palace of Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh of Egypt. Standing on a balcony, she gazes out over her kingdom, her striking beauty accentuated by the opulent garments she wears. Her dark hair is adorned with gold, and her piercing gaze reflects a mix of determination and vulnerability. You can sense the weight of her responsibilities pressing down upon her shoulders. In her heart, Cleopatra knows that her kingdom is on the brink of turmoil. The influence of Rome looms large, and a powerful figure is approaching. Mark Antony, a Roman general known for his charm and ambition. As she prepares for his arrival, you can almost feel the tension in the air, an electric anticipation that thrums through the streets of Alexandria. The moment Antony arrives, the city is abuzz with excitement. You join the throngs of citizens eager to catch a glimpse of the man who holds the fate of nations in his hands. As he dismounts his horse, you see Cleopatra standing at the entrance of her palace, their eyes meeting in a moment that seems to freeze time. You can feel the chemistry between them, an undeniable attraction that promises both danger and exhilaration. Inside the palace, the atmosphere is enchanting. The air is filled with the scent of exotic spices and the melodies of musicians playing sweet tunes. As you take your place in the grand hall, you watch Cleopatra and Antony engage in a dance of words and glances, a delicate balance of power and desire. It's a spectacle that draws you in, making you a silent witness to their growing connection. As the night unfolds, you can feel the intensity of their bond deepening. They share laughter and stories, and the line between political alliance and passionate romance begins to blur. You find yourself captivated by their chemistry, the way they lean into each other, whispering secrets that only they can hear. Later, as the festivities die down, you catch a glimpse of Cleopatra retreating to her private chamber. The weight of her decisions hangs heavy in the air, and you can sense her internal struggle. She knows that aligning herself with Antony could secure her kingdom, but what if the cost is her heart? You feel the turmoil within her, a queen torn between love and duty. Days turn into weeks, and the bond between Cleopatra and Antony grows stronger, yet the political landscape shifts around them. You can hear the whispers of dissent echoing through the palace halls as Cleopatra faces the challenges of ruling alone. Her advisors urge caution, but she remains resolute, determined to forge her own path in a world dominated by men. Antony returns to Rome to solidify their alliance, leaving Cleopatra to navigate the complexities of her kingdom without him. You sense the longing in her heart, the ache of separation amplified by the realities of their lives. The pull of her ambition and her love for Antony creates a tension that is almost palpable. As you follow Antony's journey back to Rome, you witness the mounting pressure he faces from his enemies. The stakes are higher than ever, and the choices he makes will reverberate back to Cleopatra. You can almost feel the weight of his decisions as he rallies support, knowing that the fate of both their kingdoms rests on their alliance. When Antony finally returns to Alexandria, the air is charged with excitement. Their reunion is electric, filled with passion that had been simmering in their absence. You can see the fire in Cleopatra's eyes as she welcomes him back, but you also sense the shadows of impending conflict. Their love is a beacon, but the storm clouds of political intrigue are gathering on the horizon. As they plot their future together, the palace transforms into a vibrant space of strategy and desire. You find yourself swept up in their plans, feeling the urgency of their ambitions. Cleopatra's determination to maintain her independence, while forging a powerful alliance with Antony, creates a dynamic tension that resonates deeply. Yet, as whispers of betrayal grow louder, you can feel the impending storm. The world around them shifts, and their love will soon face the ultimate test. The stakes are higher than ever, and you know that the choices they make will shape the course of history. With every heartbeat, you feel the weight of their love story, one marked by passion, ambition, and sacrifice. In this moment, as Cleopatra and Antony stand on the precipice of a conflict that could change everything, you realize that you are not just a witness to their tale. You are part of a grand narrative that intertwines love and power, echoing through the ages. As the sun rises over Alexandria, casting a warm glow across the city, the tension in Cleopatra's palace is palpable. You can feel the excitement mixed with anxiety as the queen prepares for the day ahead. Her heart races as she contemplates the future, knowing that her alliance with Antony could either secure her throne or lead to her downfall. In the grand hall, the atmosphere is charged with urgency. Advisors gather around Cleopatra, their voices a chorus of concern and ambition. You can sense their fear of Rome's growing influence and the uncertainty that looms over Egypt. Cleopatra stands at the center, a commanding presence, her mind racing with strategies and possibilities. As her advisors present their counsel, you catch snippets of their discussions talk of military strength, alliances, and the ever-present threat of betrayal. Cleopatra's sharp mind processes every word, weighing her options as the weight of her kingdom rests heavily on her shoulders. You can see her determination. She will not allow her fate to be dictated by others. Later that day, Cleopatra meets with Antony in a private chamber, their rendezvous shrouded in secrecy. As you enter the room, the air thickens with anticipation. Their eyes meet, and you can feel the intensity of their connection, a bond forged in both passion and necessity. Antony speaks of his plans to strengthen their alliance, but you can sense the underlying tension. The political landscape is changing, and both must navigate the treacherous waters of power. Cleopatra listens intently, aware that every decision they make could ripple through their kingdoms, affecting countless lives. As they discuss their visions for the future, you can see the fire in Cleopatra's eyes. She speaks passionately about her dreams for Egypt, a land rich in culture and history. You feel the weight of her words, her desire to preserve her legacy and protect her people. Antony, captivated by her spirit, pledges to stand by her side. His words resonate deeply, igniting a flicker of hope in her heart. However, you also witness the shadows of doubt creeping in. As they strategize, whispers of betrayal echo in your mind. The political machinations of Rome are relentless, and their enemies are circling like vultures. You can almost feel the tension in the air, a storm brewing on the horizon. Days pass, and the bond between Cleopatra and Antony continues to deepen. You find yourself swept up in their world, attending lavish feasts filled with laughter, music, and the allure of their connection. But beneath the surface, the stakes grow higher. The landscape of power is shifting, and you can feel the winds of change blowing through Alexandria. One evening, as the stars twinkle overhead, Cleopatra and Antony sit together on the palace terrace, sharing their dreams and fears. You can see the vulnerability in Cleopatra's eyes as she opens up about her worries for her kingdom. Antony listens, his expression filled with empathy and understanding. It's a moment of intimacy that draws you in, making you feel the weight of their shared ambitions. Yet, the shadows of their enemies loom ever closer. You hear whispers of dissent among Antony's ranks, and Cleopatra's advisors express concerns about the loyalty of those around them. The tension escalates, and you can sense the impending conflict that threatens to unravel everything they have built together. The night before a crucial meeting with Antony's allies, you witness Cleopatra pacing her chamber, her mind racing with thoughts of betrayal and loyalty. The flickering candlelight casts shadows on the walls, mirroring the uncertainty that fills her heart. She knows that trust is a fragile thing in the world of politics, and every decision must be made with caution. As dawn breaks, you feel the weight of the moment. Cleopatra and Antony prepare to meet with their allies, knowing that the outcome could determine the fate of their kingdoms. The air is thick with anticipation as they approach the gathering, each step echoing with the weight of history. You find yourself in the grand hall, surrounded by influential figures from both Egypt and Rome. The tension is palpable, and you can feel the stakes rising as Cleopatra and Antony present their case for unity. Their voices resonate with passion, but you can also sense the skepticism among the crowd. As the discussions unfold, you witness the clash of ambitions and desires. Cleopatra stands firm, her voice unwavering as she defends her vision for Egypt. Antony, too, speaks with conviction, but you can sense the underlying currents of dissent among his allies. The whispers of betrayal grow louder, and you feel the tension building to a breaking point. In a moment of vulnerability, Cleopatra shares her fears with Antony, her voice filled with emotion. You can see the weight of her words impact him deeply, and the bond between them strengthens in that instant. But you also feel the encroaching darkness, the realization that their love may not be enough to overcome the forces aligned against them. The meeting reaches a climax, and you watch as alliances are formed and fractured in real time. The energy in the room shifts dramatically, and you can almost taste the tension as the stakes rise. Cleopatra and Antony stand at the center, navigating the treacherous waters of ambition, love, and betrayal. As the dust settles, you know that their journey is far from over. The challenges they face will only intensify, and the path ahead is fraught with danger. Their love story, intertwined with the fate of nations, is about to reach new heights of passion and peril. With hearts racing and the weight of the world upon them, Cleopatra and Antony prepare to face the storm that is brewing on the horizon. Their destinies are intertwined, a tapestry of love and ambition that will echo through time. As dawn approached, the camp was alive with the sounds of preparation. The air was heavy with the scent of leather and sweat, as soldiers sharpened their weapons and adjusted their armor. Cleopatra and Antony stood at the center of the encampment, their expressions resolute, ready to face the challenge ahead. Antony turned to Cleopatra, his voice low but firm. "We need to ensure that our strategies are clear. Our forces must move as one if we are to succeed." Cleopatra nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon. "Agreed." We must anticipate their movements and strike decisively. We cannot afford to let fear dictate our actions. As the sun began to rise, casting a golden hue over the landscape, Cleopatra organized her commanders for a final briefing. You stood among them, feeling the weight of history pressing down on you. The stakes had never been higher, and the tension in the air was palpable. Today, we fight not just for our thrones, but for our legacies, Cleopatra declared, her voice ringing out with confidence. We will show them that our love is our strength, and we will not back down. The commanders rallied around her words, their spirits ignited by her passion. You could see the determination in their eyes, a fierce loyalty that had been cultivated through the trials they had faced together. As the troops assembled, you felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through you. The time for talk was over. The moment for action had arrived. The armies stood ready, a sea of shield and spear, prepared to march into the unknown. Antony and Cleopatra shared a glance, a silent understanding passing between them. They would face whatever came together. As the signal to advance was given, the troops surged forward, the sound of marching feet echoing across the landscape. The path to the battlefield was fraught with tension, each step a reminder of the stakes involved. As they approached the designated site, you could see the opposing army gathering in the distance, a formidable force, ready for battle. As the two armies faced each other, you could feel the palpable energy in the air. Cleopatra and Antony rode at the forefront of their troops, their presence a beacon of strength. They exchanged final words of encouragement, their hands clasped tightly. Whatever happens, we will prevail, Antony said, his gaze fixed on Cleopatra. With a fierce determination, Cleopatra replied, "For Egypt, for Rome, and for us." At that moment, the horns of war sounded, signaling the beginning of the confrontation. The ground shook beneath your feet as both armies charged toward each other, a clash of wills and ambitions. You found yourself swept up in the chaos, the sounds of battle erupting around you, shouts of soldiers, the clang of metal and the cries of the wounded. Cleopatra fought valiantly, her presence commanding and fierce, while Antony led his men with unwavering resolve. In the midst of the turmoil, you noticed a group of soldiers breaking from Antony's ranks, their loyalty wavering. Sensing the danger, you rushed to alert Cleopatra and Antony. "We have enemies within our own ranks." You shouted, your voice barely audible over the chaos. Antony glanced back, his eyes fierce. "We will not let betrayal take root. We need to quell this descent." With renewed urgency, Cleopatra and Antony directed their forces to regroup, fighting not only against their external foes, but also against the treachery that threatened to unravel their alliance from within. As the battle raged on, you witnessed moments of bravery and desperation. Cleopatra's fierce spirit inspired her soldiers to press on, while Antony rallied those who wavered, reminding them of the stakes involved. In the midst of it all, you saw a flash of steel. A soldier from the opposing side had broken through the ranks, aiming for Cleopatra. Time seemed to slow as you witnessed the danger approaching her. "Cleopatra, watch out!" You shouted, your voice cutting through the din of battle. With a swift movement, Antony intervened, positioning himself between Cleopatra and the assailant just in time. The clash of their swords echoed, and you held your breath as the fight unfolded. Antony fought with the ferocity of a man protecting what he loved most. His determination shone through as he parried and struck, his focus unwavering. You could see Cleopatra's eyes widen with both fear and admiration as she watched him defend her. With a final powerful blow, Antony dispatched the enemy soldier, and the immediate threat was neutralized. He turned to Cleopatra, his breath heavy but his spirit unbroken. "Are you all right?" he asked, concern etched on his face. "I am now," she replied, her voice steady but laced with emotion. "Thank you." As the battle continued, you felt the tide begin to shift. The loyalty of the troops, once fractured, was reignited by the display of courage from their leaders. You could see the momentum building, the resolve strengthening, as they fought side by side. With each clash and each rallying cry, you sensed the bond between Cleopatra and Antony deepening. They were not just fighting for their kingdoms. They were fighting for each other, their love a powerful force amidst the chaos. As the day wore on, the battle took its toll on both sides. You witnessed acts of heroism and sacrifice, the cost of ambition laid bare before you. But through it all, Cleopatra and Antony remained steadfast, their determination unwavering. Finally, as the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the battlefield, you saw the tide turn. The opposing forces began to falter, their ranks breaking under the pressure of a united front. Cleopatra and Antony pressed on, their spirits unyielding. With one final push, the enemy forces retreated, and a cheer erupted from your side. The battle had been won, but the cost was heavy. You could see the weary faces of the soldiers, their bodies battered, but their spirits lifted by the victory. In the aftermath, as you gathered with Cleopatra and Antony, the reality of what had transpired began to sink in. They had fought not just for power, but for their love, and in doing so, had forged a bond that would withstand the tests of time. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the sky painted in hues of orange and purple, Cleopatra turned to Antony, her eyes filled with emotion. "We did this together," she said, her voice steady. Antony nodded, his expression fierce yet tender. "Together we are unstoppable." In that moment you knew that their love story was far from over. The battle had been won, but the war for their future was just beginning. You felt the weight of history in the air, knowing that their destinies were intertwined in a way that would shape the course of time itself. As night fell over the battlefield, the aftermath of the conflict lay before Cleopatra and Antony, a landscape marked by both victory and sorrow. The air was thick with the scent of smoke and the remnants of battle, a bittersweet reminder of the cost of their ambition. You stood with them amidst the quieting chaos, the sounds of cheers fading into the distance as soldiers tended to the wounded and mourned their fallen comrades. Cleopatra surveyed the scene, her heart heavy with the weight of loss, yet her spirit unbroken. "We have triumphed, but at what cost?" she whispered, her gaze fixed on the horizon, where the last light of day flickered away. Antony placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We fought for our future, for our love. We will honor those we lost by ensuring that their sacrifices were not in vain." There was a steely resolve in his voice that ignited a flicker of hope in Cleopatra's heart. As the night deepened, you accompanied them to the makeshift camp where the wounded were being cared for. Cleopatra moved gracefully among her soldiers, offering words of comfort and support, her compassion shining through the sorrow of the day. You could see how deeply she connected with her people, her presence a balm for their wounds, both physical and emotional. Antony joined her, his leadership evident as he organized the medical teams and ensured that every soldier received the care they needed. The bond between them grew stronger in these moments of shared purpose, their love a guiding light amidst the darkness. In the dim glow of the campfires, you witnessed the camaraderie of the troops. They shared stories of bravery and sacrifice, their spirits lifted by the presence of their leaders. You could feel the unity among them, a collective determination to rebuild and move forward. As the night wore on, Cleopatra and Antony took a moment alone, seeking solace in each other's company. You followed at a distance, respecting their need for privacy as they found a quiet spot beneath the stars. "Tonight we celebrate our victory," Cleopatra said, her voice soft yet resolute. "But we must also remember those who fought and fell alongside us. Their legacy must live on." Antony nodded, his expression solemn. "We will honor them. We will ensure that their sacrifices lead to a brighter future for Egypt and Rome." In that moment, you felt the weight of their shared resolve. They were warriors not just in battle, but in love and leadership, their destinies entwined in a way that transcended the struggles they faced. As dawn approached, the first light of day broke over the horizon, casting a warm glow across the camp. You could hear the sounds of life stirring as soldiers began to rise, their spirits renewed by the promise of a new day. Cleopatra and Antony returned to the heart of the camp, ready to address their troops. The energy in the air was palpable, and you could sense a collective anticipation among the soldiers. They had faced adversity and emerged victorious, and now they were ready to forge ahead. As Cleopatra stood before the assembled troops, you could see the fire in her eyes. "Today we honor both our victory and our fallen comrades. We are not just an army. We are a family. Together we will rebuild and thrive." The soldiers erupted in cheers, their voices echoing across the camp. You felt a surge of hope among them, a renewed commitment to the cause they had fought for. Antony stepped forward, his voice strong and commanding. "We have proven that our love and unity are our greatest strengths. Let us carry that spirit forward as we face whatever challenges lie ahead." With their leaders standing united, the atmosphere shifted. You could see the determination in the faces of the soldiers, a fierce loyalty ignited by the bond between Cleopatra and Antony. As the day unfolded, you witnessed the aftermath of the battle. The camp was alive with activity as soldiers tended to the wounded and began the process of rebuilding. Cleopatra and Antony worked tirelessly alongside them, their hands dirty and their spirits unwavering. You moved among the people, feeling the energy of renewal and resilience. The bonds forged in battle were stronger than ever, and the love between Cleopatra and Antony served as a guiding light. Days passed, and as the camp transformed into a symbol of hope, you sensed a shift in the political landscape. Whispers of unity began to spread beyond the borders of Egypt, reaching the ears of influential leaders in Rome. The victory had resonated, and the tides of support were beginning to change. One evening, as you gathered around a campfire with Cleopatra and Antony, you could feel the optimism in the air. They discussed plans for the future, their dreams intertwined with the fate of their kingdoms. "We must solidify our alliances," Cleopatra said, her voice filled with conviction. "Our victory has opened doors, and we must seize this opportunity to create lasting peace." Antony nodded in agreement. "Let us send envoys to Rome to reach out to those who may be swayed by our cause. Together we can reshape the future." As the flames flickered in the night, you felt the warmth of their ambition. Their love story was still unfolding, and the path ahead was filled with promise and potential. But you also sensed the shadows of opposition lurking in the distance. While the victory had ignited hope, the political landscape remained volatile, and the forces aligned against them had not been vanquished. As Cleopatra and Antony prepared to send their envoys, you knew that their journey was far from over. The battle for their love and their kingdoms would continue, but in that moment, you could feel the strength of their bond of love that would guide them through whatever challenges lay ahead. As the days turned into weeks, the atmosphere in the camp shifted from one of mourning to renewed hope. Cleopatra and Antony, buoyed by their recent victory, set about crafting a vision for a united future. Their love had become a rallying cry, inspiring both their soldiers and the citizens of Egypt. You watched as Cleopatra meticulously planned the next steps, her keen intellect guiding every decision. She understood that the political landscape was fragile, and now was the time to solidify their alliances. Her advisors gathered in a large tent, maps and scrolls spread out before them like a tapestry of possibilities. "Word of our victory has reached Rome," Cleopatra announced, her voice steady as she addressed her advisors. "Now we must reach out to those who may be sympathetic to our cause. We need to send envoys to key figures not just to seek support, but to build lasting relationships." Antony stood beside her, his presence strong and reassuring. "We must emphasize that our alliance is one of strength, not fear. We are not just rulers. We are partners in a shared vision for the future of our kingdoms." You could see the resolve in their eyes as they mapped out their strategy. Cleopatra's passion for Egypt and Antony's ambition for Rome blended seamlessly, creating a vision that resonated deeply with those who heard it. Meanwhile, you accompanied their envoys as they set out for Rome, witnessing firsthand the power of Cleopatra and Antony's message. The roads were lined with supporters, eager to lend their voices to the cause. It was a sight to behold, a testament to the unity they had inspired. Each city they passed through welcomed them with open arms, the citizens eager to hear the words of their leaders. "Together we stand stronger," the envoys proclaimed, echoing the sentiment of Cleopatra and Antony. The enthusiasm ignited a spark of hope among the people, and the message began to spread like wildfire. In Rome, the atmosphere was charged with anticipation. You saw the influential leaders gather, uncertain yet intrigued by the prospect of an alliance with Egypt. The tides of political opinion were shifting, and it was clear that Cleopatra and Antony's message resonated with many. As the envoys presented their case, you could sense the tension in the room. Some leaders were skeptical, their loyalty to traditional power structures evident, while others began to lean toward the idea of a united front. You watched as the negotiations unfolded, feeling the weight of history in every word spoken. Back in Alexandria, Cleopatra and Antony remained steadfast in their efforts. They continued to rally their troops, reinforcing the notion that their victory was just the beginning. "We are not merely warriors, we are visionaries," Cleopatra declared during a gathering of her soldiers. "Our love and our strength will shape the future of our lands." The soldiers responded with cheers, their spirits lifted by her words. You could feel the energy in the air, a collective determination to forge ahead and build a legacy that would endure. But amidst the optimism, you sensed the shadows of dissent lurking. There were whispers of those who opposed Cleopatra's influence, questioning the wisdom of her alliance with Antony. You could see the concern in their eyes, a reminder that not everyone embraced the changes taking place. One evening, as you gathered with Cleopatra and Antony under the stars, the weight of their challenges hung heavy in the air. "We've made progress, but we must remain vigilant," Antony said, his expression serious. "There are those who will seek to undermine us." Cleopatra nodded, her gaze thoughtful. "We need to address the concerns of our skeptics head-on. We must show them that our alliance is built on trust and mutual benefit." In that moment you could see their determination to confront the challenges ahead. They understood that the path to a united future would not be easy, but their love served as a guiding light, illuminating the way forward. As the next phase of their plan unfolded, you accompanied Cleopatra as she addressed the citizens of Alexandria. The gathering was held in the Grand Square, a space filled with anticipation and hope. Her voice rang out, resonating with passion and conviction. "People of Alexandria," she called, her presence commanding attention. "We stand at the dawn of a new era, one where Egypt and Rome can thrive together. Our victory is not just a battle won. It is a testament to our strength and unity." The crowd erupted in applause, their voices echoing through the streets. You could see the impact of her words, the way they ignited a sense of pride and loyalty among the citizens. Antony joined her on the platform, his eyes filled with admiration. "Together we will forge a future that honors our past while embracing the possibilities of tomorrow. We will not shy away from the challenges ahead. We will meet them with courage and resolve." As the cheers filled the air, you felt a swell of hope among the people. The bond between Cleopatra and Antony was becoming a symbol of resilience and ambition, uniting their kingdoms in a way that had once seemed impossible. But even as the celebrations continued, you could feel the tension beneath the surface. The whispers of dissent were growing louder, and you sensed that not everyone was on board with the new alliance. It was a reminder that while they had won the battle, the war for acceptance and unity was far from over. In the days that followed, Cleopatra and Antony worked tirelessly to solidify their alliances, reaching out to those who remained skeptical. They hosted gatherings and discussions, inviting influential leaders to Alexandria to witness the strength of their bond firsthand. You witnessed the power of their love as they navigated the complexities of politics. They complemented each other effortlessly, Cleopatra's wisdom balancing Antony's ambition. Together they painted a picture of a united future that resonated with many, slowly winning over the doubters. Yet, as you moved through the halls of power, you could feel the currents of opposition still swirling. The forces aligned against them were not easily swayed, and you knew that the road ahead would require unwavering resolve. One fateful evening, amidst a gathering of their closest advisers, an unexpected visitor arrived, an envoy from Rome bearing news that would change everything. You felt the tension in the room as the envoy delivered his message, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. "Cleopatra, Antony," the envoy began, his voice steady but grave. "There are factions in Rome who see your alliance as a threat. They seek to undermine your efforts and will not rest until they see you divided." You could see the concern etched on Cleopatra's face, her mind racing with the implications of this revelation. Antony's expression hardened, his determination flaring. "We will not be intimidated. Our love and our alliance will withstand their attempts to sow discord." As you step into the heart of ancient Alexandria, the air is vibrant with the sounds of bustling markets and the distant crash of waves against the shore. You can feel the warmth of the Mediterranean sun on your skin as it begins to set, casting a golden hue over the city. The streets are alive with merchants hawking spices, scholars debating philosophy, and citizens going about their daily lives, unaware of the extraordinary events about to unfold. You find yourself drawn toward the grand palace of Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh of Egypt. Standing on a balcony, she gazes out over her kingdom, her striking beauty accentuated by the opulent garments she wears. Her dark hair is adorned with gold, and her piercing gaze reflects a mix of determination and vulnerability. You can sense the weight of her responsibilities pressing down upon her shoulders. In her heart, Cleopatra knows that her kingdom is on the brink of turmoil. The influence of Rome looms large, and a powerful figure is approaching. Mark Antony, a Roman general known for his charm and ambition. As she prepares for his arrival, you can almost feel the tension in the air, an electric anticipation that thrums through the streets of Alexandria. The moment Antony arrives, the city is abuzz with excitement. You join the throngs of citizens eager to catch a glimpse of the man who holds the fate of nations in his hands. As he dismounts his horse, you see Cleopatra standing at the entrance of her palace, their eyes meeting in a moment that seems to freeze time. You can feel the chemistry between them, an undeniable attraction that promises both danger and exhilaration. Inside the palace, the atmosphere is enchanting. The air is filled with the scent of exotic spices and the melodies of musicians playing sweet tunes. As you take your place in the grand hall, you watch Cleopatra and Antony engage in a dance of words and glances, a delicate balance of power and desire. It's a spectacle that draws you in, making you a silent witness to their growing connection. As the night unfolds, you can feel the intensity of their bond deepening. They share laughter and stories, and the line between political alliance and passionate romance begins to blur. You find yourself captivated by their chemistry, the way they lean into each other, whispering secrets that only they can hear. Later, as the festivities die down, you catch a glimpse of Cleopatra retreating to her private chamber. The weight of her decisions hangs heavy in the air, and you can sense her internal struggle. She knows that aligning herself with Antony could secure her kingdom, but what if the cost is her heart? You feel the turmoil within her, a queen torn between love and duty. Days turn into weeks, and the bond between Cleopatra and Antony grows stronger, yet the political landscape shifts around them. You can hear the whispers of dissent echoing through the palace halls as Cleopatra faces the challenges of ruling alone. Her advisors urge caution, but she remains resolute, determined to forge her own path in a world dominated by men. Antony returns to Rome to solidify their alliance, leaving Cleopatra to navigate the complexities of her kingdom without him. You sense the longing in her heart, the ache of separation amplified by the realities of their lives. The pull of her ambition and her love for Antony creates a tension that is almost palpable. As you follow Antony's journey back to Rome, you witness the mounting pressure he faces from his enemies. The stakes are higher than ever, and the choices he makes will reverberate back to Cleopatra. You can almost feel the weight of his decisions as he rallies support, knowing that the fate of both their kingdoms rests on their alliance. When Antony finally returns to Alexandria, the air is charged with excitement. Their reunion is electric, filled with passion that had been simmering in their absence. You can see the fire in Cleopatra's eyes as she welcomes him back, but you also sense the shadows of impending conflict. Their love is a beacon, but the storm clouds of political intrigue are gathering on the horizon. As they plot their future together, the palace transforms into a vibrant space of strategy and desire. You find yourself swept up in their plans, feeling the urgency of their ambitions. Cleopatra's determination to maintain her independence, while forging a powerful alliance with Antony, creates a dynamic tension that resonates deeply. Yet, as whispers of betrayal grow louder, you can feel the impending storm. The world around them shifts, and their love will soon face the ultimate test. The stakes are higher than ever, and you know that the choices they make will shape the course of history. With every heartbeat, you feel the weight of their love story, one marked by passion, ambition, and sacrifice. In this moment, as Cleopatra and Antony stand on the precipice of a conflict that could change everything, you realize that you are not just a witness to their tale. You are part of a grand narrative that intertwines love and power, echoing through the ages. As the sun rises over Alexandria, casting a warm glow across the city, the tension in Cleopatra's palace is palpable. You can feel the excitement mixed with anxiety as the queen prepares for the day ahead. Her heart races as she contemplates the future, knowing that her alliance with Antony could either secure her throne or lead to her downfall. In the grand hall, the atmosphere is charged with urgency. Advisors gather around Cleopatra, their voices a chorus of concern and ambition. You can sense their fear of Rome's growing influence and the uncertainty that looms over Egypt. Cleopatra stands at the center, a commanding presence, her mind racing with strategies and possibilities. As her advisors present their counsel, you catch snippets of their discussions talk of military strength, alliances, and the ever-present threat of betrayal. Cleopatra's sharp mind processes every word, weighing her options as the weight of her kingdom rests heavily on her shoulders. You can see her determination. She will not allow her fate to be dictated by others. Later that day, Cleopatra meets with Antony in a private chamber, their rendezvous shrouded in secrecy. As you enter the room, the air thickens with anticipation. Their eyes meet, and you can feel the intensity of their connection, a bond forged in both passion and necessity. Antony speaks of his plans to strengthen their alliance, but you can sense the underlying tension. The political landscape is changing, and both must navigate the treacherous waters of power. Cleopatra listens intently, aware that every decision they make could ripple through their kingdoms, affecting countless lives. As they discuss their visions for the future, you can see the fire in Cleopatra's eyes. She speaks passionately about her dreams for Egypt, a land rich in culture and history. You feel the weight of her words, her desire to preserve her legacy and protect her people. Antony, captivated by her spirit, pledges to stand by her side. His words resonate deeply, igniting a flicker of hope in her heart. However, you also witness the shadows of doubt creeping in. As they strategize, whispers of betrayal echo in your mind. The political machinations of Rome are relentless, and their enemies are circling like vultures. You can almost feel the tension in the air, a storm brewing on the horizon. Days pass, and the bond between Cleopatra and Antony continues to deepen. You find yourself swept up in their world, attending lavish feasts filled with laughter, music, and the allure of their connection. But beneath the surface, the stakes grow higher. The landscape of power is shifting, and you can feel the winds of change blowing through Alexandria. One evening, as the stars twinkle overhead, Cleopatra and Antony sit together on the palace terrace, sharing their dreams and fears. You can see the vulnerability in Cleopatra's eyes as she opens up about her worries for her kingdom. Antony listens, his expression filled with empathy and understanding. It's a moment of intimacy that draws you in, making you feel the weight of their shared ambitions. Yet, the shadows of their enemies loom ever closer. You hear whispers of dissent among Antony's ranks, and Cleopatra's advisors express concerns about the loyalty of those around them. The tension escalates, and you can sense the impending conflict that threatens to unravel everything they have built together. The night before a crucial meeting with Antony's allies, you witness Cleopatra pacing her chamber, her mind racing with thoughts of betrayal and loyalty. The flickering candlelight casts shadows on the walls, mirroring the uncertainty that fills her heart. She knows that trust is a fragile thing in the world of politics, and every decision must be made with caution. As dawn breaks, you feel the weight of the moment. Cleopatra and Antony prepare to meet with their allies, knowing that the outcome could determine the fate of their kingdoms. The air is thick with anticipation as they approach the gathering, each step echoing with the weight of history. You find yourself in the grand hall, surrounded by influential figures from both Egypt and Rome. The tension is palpable, and you can feel the stakes rising as Cleopatra and Antony present their case for unity. Their voices resonate with passion, but you can also sense the skepticism among the crowd. As the discussions unfold, you witness the clash of ambitions and desires. Cleopatra stands firm, her voice unwavering as she defends her vision for Egypt. Antony, too, speaks with conviction, but you can sense the underlying currents of dissent among his allies. The whispers of betrayal grow louder, and you feel the tension building to a breaking point. In a moment of vulnerability, Cleopatra shares her fears with Antony, her voice filled with emotion. You can see the weight of her words impact him deeply, and the bond between them strengthens in that instant. But you also feel the encroaching darkness, the realization that their love may not be enough to overcome the forces aligned against them. The meeting reaches a climax, and you watch as alliances are formed and fractured in real time. The energy in the room shifts dramatically, and you can almost taste the tension as the stakes rise. Cleopatra and Antony stand at the center, navigating the treacherous waters of ambition, love, and betrayal. As the dust settles, you know that their journey is far from over. The challenges they face will only intensify, and the path ahead is fraught with danger. Their love story, intertwined with the fate of nations, is about to reach new heights of passion and peril. With hearts racing and the weight of the world upon them, Cleopatra and Antony prepare to face the storm that is brewing on the horizon. Their destinies are intertwined, a tapestry of love and ambition that will echo through time. As dawn approached, the camp was alive with the sounds of preparation. The air was heavy with the scent of leather and sweat, as soldiers sharpened their weapons and adjusted their armor. Cleopatra and Antony stood at the center of the encampment, their expressions resolute, ready to face the challenge ahead. Antony turned to Cleopatra, his voice low but firm. "We need to ensure that our strategies are clear. Our forces must move as one if we are to succeed." Cleopatra nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon. "Agreed. We must anticipate their movements and strike decisively. We cannot afford to let fear dictate our actions." As the sun began to rise, casting a golden hue over the landscape, Cleopatra organized her commanders for a final briefing. You stood among them, feeling the weight of history pressing down on you. The stakes had never been higher, and the tension in the air was palpable. Today, we fight not just for our thrones, but for our legacies, Cleopatra declared, her voice ringing out with confidence. We will show them that our love is our strength, and we will not back down. The commanders rallied around her words, their spirits ignited by her passion. You could see the determination in their eyes, a fierce loyalty that had been cultivated through the trials they had faced together. As the troops assembled, you felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through you. The time for talk was over. The moment for action had arrived. The armies stood ready, a sea of shield and spear, prepared to march into the unknown. Antony and Cleopatra shared a glance, a silent understanding passing between them. They would face whatever came together. As the signal to advance was given, the troops surged forward, the sound of marching feet echoing across the landscape. The path to the battlefield was fraught with tension, each step a reminder of the stakes involved. As they approached the designated site, you could see the opposing army gathering in the distance, a formidable force, ready for battle. As the two armies faced each other, you could feel the palpable energy in the air. Cleopatra and Antony rode at the forefront of their troops, their presence a beacon of strength. They exchanged final words of encouragement, their hands clasped tightly. "Whatever happens, we will prevail," Antony said, his gaze fixed on Cleopatra. With a fierce determination, Cleopatra replied, "For Egypt, for Rome, and for us." At that moment, the horns of war sounded, signaling the beginning of the confrontation. The ground shook beneath your feet as both armies charged toward each other, a clash of wills and ambitions. You found yourself swept up in the chaos, the sounds of battle erupting around you, shouts of soldiers, the clang of metal and the cries of the wounded. Cleopatra fought valiantly, her presence commanding and fierce, while Antony led his men with unwavering resolve. In the midst of the turmoil, you noticed a group of soldiers breaking from Antony's ranks, their loyalty wavering. Sensing the danger, you rushed to alert Cleopatra and Antony. "We have enemies within our own ranks," you shouted, your voice barely audible over the chaos. Antony glanced back, his eyes fierce. "We will not let betrayal take root. We need to quell this descent." With renewed urgency, Cleopatra and Antony directed their forces to regroup, fighting not only against their external foes, but also against the treachery that threatened to unravel their alliance from within. The envoy nodded, his gaze serious. "You must prepare for the possibility of conflict. Your enemies will not hesitate to strike if they believe it will weaken your bond." In that moment, you understood the gravity of their situation. The love story of Cleopatra and Antony was about to face its greatest test yet, a challenge that would require all their strength and resilience. As the night deepened, you could feel the weight of history pressing down upon them. The choices they made in the coming days would shape not only their destinies, but the very course of the future. You sensed a shift in the air, a storm was brewing, and Cleopatra and Antony would need to stand united against the forces that sought to tear them apart. As dawn broke over Alexandria, Cleopatra and Antony found themselves at a critical juncture. The news of impending conflict loomed like a storm cloud, threatening to overshadow the victories they had fought so hard to achieve. Determined to protect their alliance, they convened an emergency meeting with their closest advisors. In the grand hall of the palace, you could feel the tension in the air, as Cleopatra and Antony addressed their inner circle. The atmosphere was charged with urgency, each advisor acutely aware of the stakes involved. "We must prepare for any eventuality," Cleopatra declared, her voice resonating with authority. "Our enemies will not sit idly by while we strengthen our alliance. We need to fortify our defenses and ensure that our supporters remain loyal." Antony nodded, his expression serious. "We must also reach out to those in Rome who still support us. We cannot allow the whispers of dissent to drown out our message of unity." The advisors exchanged glances, their expressions a mixture of concern and determination. You could see the resolve forming among them, a shared commitment to safeguard the future of Egypt and Rome. In the days that followed, you witnessed a flurry of activity as the palace prepared for potential conflict. Cleopatra and Antony worked tirelessly, strategizing both military defenses and diplomatic outreach. Troops were mobilized and fortifications reinforced, while envoys were dispatched to Rome to rally their supporters. As the sun dipped below the horizon, you accompanied Cleopatra as she addressed her troops gathered in the courtyard. The soldiers stood at attention, their faces a mixture of determination and apprehension. You could feel the energy in the air, a collective readiness to defend their kingdom. "Today we stand on the brink of a new chapter," Cleopatra proclaimed, her voice strong and clear. "We will not be intimidated by those who seek to divide us. Together we will protect our love, our alliance, and our future." Cheers erupted from the soldiers, their spirits ignited by her words. The bond between Cleopatra and Antony was palpable, a symbol of hope amidst the uncertainty. You observed Antony as he stepped forward, his presence commanding. "This is not just a fight for power. It is a fight for our very identities. Let us show our enemies the strength of our unity." The soldiers roared in approval, the energy in the courtyard surging. You could see the loyalty in their eyes, a fierce determination to stand by their leaders. It was a moment of solidarity, a reminder that they were not just fighting for their rulers, but for each other. However, as the days turned into weeks, you sensed the tension building. Reports from Rome indicated that the factions opposing Cleopatra and Antony were gathering strength, and you could feel the pressure mounting. Their enemies were not going to back down easily. One evening, as the stars twinkled overhead, you found Cleopatra and Antony in a quiet corner of the palace garden. The tranquility of the moment was a stark contrast to the turmoil brewing around them. "Antony," Cleopatra said, her voice soft yet filled with resolve, "we must be prepared for the worst. If our enemies believe they can break our bond, we must show them that they are gravely mistaken." Antony took her hands, his gaze steady. "We will face whatever comes together. Our love is our greatest weapon, and we will not let anyone tear us apart." In that moment, you could feel the strength of their connection. It was a bond forged in the fires of ambition and resilience, a love that had weathered storms and emerged stronger. As the situation escalated, you accompanied them to a strategic meeting with their military leaders. The atmosphere was tense as they discussed their plans for defense and potential offensive strategies. "We need to anticipate their moves," Cleopatra emphasized, her tone decisive. "We cannot afford to be caught off guard. Our fortifications must be impenetrable, and our troops must be ready to act at a moment's notice." Antony nodded, his eyes scanning the room. "We also need to consider our alliances. If we can rally support from other factions in Rome, we may have a chance to counter their influence." As the discussions unfolded, you could see the determination in both Cleopatra and Antony. They were not just leaders. They were partners in every sense, their visions intertwined as they fought for their future. Days turned into a blur of preparation, with soldiers training tirelessly and resources being mobilized. The tension in the air was palpable, a constant reminder that the storm was approaching. One fateful morning, as the sun rose over the horizon, you received word that a large contingent of troops from Rome was advancing toward Alexandria. The urgency of the situation intensified, and you could feel the adrenaline coursing through the camp. Cleopatra and Antony quickly convened their commanders, the atmosphere charged with anticipation. "We must be ready to defend our city," Cleopatra declared, her voice firm. "This is our home, and we will protect it at all costs." Antony addressed the commanders, outlining their strategies and reinforcing the importance of unity. "We fight not just for ourselves, but for the future of our families and our people. We will stand together no matter the odds." As the troops prepared for battle, you felt a mixture of fear and determination in the air. The soldiers moved with purpose, their spirits lifted by the presence of their leaders. You could see the bond between Cleopatra and Antony shining through, a source of strength that resonated among their ranks. As the enemy approached, the tension reached a boiling point. You stood alongside Cleopatra and Antony as they surveyed the battlefield, the sounds of marching feet echoing in the distance. The moment of truth was upon them. "Today we fight for our love and our legacy," Antony said, his gaze unwavering. "We will not let fear dictate our actions." Cleopatra nodded, her resolve palpable. "Together we will show them the power of our alliance." With their hearts racing, Cleopatra and Antony took their positions at the forefront of their troops, ready to face the storm head-on. You could feel the energy in the air, a mixture of determination and anticipation as they prepared for the battle that would determine their fates. The clash of armies was imminent, and you sensed that the love story of Cleopatra and Antony was about to reach its most intense chapter yet. They would fight not just for power, but for a future that they believed in, a future that would echo through the ages. As the sun rose higher in the sky, casting a fierce light over the battlefield, the tension reached a breaking point. Cleopatra and Antony stood resolute at the forefront of their troops, their hearts pounding with anticipation. The enemy forces were now visible, a dark wave approaching, and the air was heavy with the weight of impending conflict. Cleopatra turned to her soldiers, her voice steady and commanding. "Today we fight not just for our kingdoms, but for our love and our future. We will show them that we are united and unbreakable." Antony added, his presence a pillar of strength beside her. "Each of you fights for your families, for your friends, and for the legacy we will build together. We will not falter." The soldiers erupted in cheers, their voices rising in a powerful chorus that reverberated across the plains. You could see their determination, a fierce loyalty ignited by the bond between their leaders. As the enemy forces drew closer, the tension in the air thickened. You stood near Cleopatra and Antony, feeling the intensity of the moment. The time for words was over. The time for action had arrived. The battle commenced with a thunderous roar as both armies clashed, the sounds of metal against metal filling the air. You could see the chaos unfold before you soldiers charging, the cries of wounded men and the relentless push of combatants on both sides. Cleopatra fought valiantly, her presence fierce and commanding. She moved through the battlefield with grace, rallying her troops and engaging in combat with a skill that left you in awe. Her determination was palpable, and you could see the fire in her eyes as she defended her kingdom. Antony fought alongside her, his strength and bravery evident as he led his men into the fray. The bond between them was unbreakable, each supporting the other in a dance of strategy and resolve. You saw the way they communicated without words, their movements synchronized as they fought to protect what they held dear. As the battle raged on, you witnessed moments of heroism and sacrifice. Soldiers on both sides fought fiercely, but the tides began to shift. Cleopatra and Antony's forces pressed forward, fueled by the love and unity that had brought them together. Yet, amidst the chaos, you could sense the undercurrents of dissent still at play. You noticed a group of soldiers from Antony's ranks hesitating, their loyalty wavering. Realizing the danger, you rushed to alert Antony. "Antony, we have soldiers questioning their commitment," you shouted, urgency filling your voice. Antony's brow furrowed as he turned to address his troops. "Stand firm. This is not just a fight for land. This is a fight for our future together. Do not let doubt creep in." The words resonated, reigniting the fire within the soldiers. The tide began to turn as they rallied behind their leaders, the energy of unity surging through the ranks. You moved alongside Cleopatra as she continued to inspire her soldiers. "Fight for your families. Fight for the love that binds us all. Together we are stronger than any enemy." The soldiers responded with renewed vigor, their spirits lifted by her words. You could feel the energy shift, the collective determination solidifying into an unyielding force. As the battle continued, the sun blazed overhead, casting long shadows across the battlefield. You noticed a moment of stillness amidst the chaos, the armies locked in a fierce struggle. It was then that you spotted a familiar figure among the enemy ranks, an old rival of Antony, a man who had once sought to undermine him. Realizing the threat, you rushed to Cleopatra. "We must confront him. He could turn the tide against us." Cleopatra nodded, her expression fierce. "Lead the way. We cannot let him destabilize our forces." With determination, you guided Cleopatra and Antony toward the rival's position. The clash of swords surrounded you, but your focus remained on the enemy leader. As you approached, you could see the surprise in his eyes, quickly replaced by a calculating smirk. "Cleopatra, Antony," he sneered, "you think you can hold your ground against the might of Rome? Your love is no match for ambition." Antony stepped forward, his voice ringing with conviction. "Our love is our strength, and it will not be diminished by your greed." With a swift movement, Cleopatra engaged the rival in combat, her skill evident as she parried his strikes. You watched in awe as she fought, her determination shining through every move. Antony joined her, their combined strength a force to be reckoned with. As the duel unfolded, you could sense the energy of the battle shifting. The rival's confidence began to wane as he struggled against their unity. With one final, powerful strike, Cleopatra disarmed him, her sword pointed at his throat. "Yield or face the consequences," she warned, her voice steady. The rival hesitated, realizing the futility of his position. "You may have won this battle, but the war is far from over," he spat, retreating into the chaos of the battlefield. With their enemy momentarily subdued, Cleopatra and Antony turned to their troops, their eyes filled with a fierce resolve. "We will not back down," Antony declared, rallying the soldiers. "Together we will emerge victorious." The energy surged through the ranks, and you could feel the tide of the battle turning in their favor. The soldiers pressed forward, inspired by the display of strength and unity from their leaders. As the sun began to set, casting an orange glow over the battlefield, the enemy forces faltered. The love story of Cleopatra and Antony was not just a tale of romance. It had become a symbol of resilience and courage in the face of adversity. With one final push, Cleopatra and Antony led their troops to victory. The sounds of battle began to fade, replaced by cheers of triumph as their enemies retreated. You could see the joy and relief wash over the soldiers, a testament to their unwavering spirit. As the dust settled, you found yourself standing alongside Cleopatra and Antony, the weight of the day's events hanging heavy in the air. They had fought for their love and their vision, and together they had emerged victorious. "Today we have proven that love can conquer all," Cleopatra said, her voice filled with emotion. Antony nodded, his gaze steady. "Together we will build a future worthy of our sacrifices." In that moment you knew that their journey was far from over. The battle had been won, but the war for acceptance and unity would continue. Yet, as you looked at Cleopatra and Antony, you felt a surge of hope. Their love was a powerful force, one that would guide them through whatever challenges lay ahead. The sun dipped below the horizon, signaling the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. Together, they would face the future united, unbreakable, and unstoppable. In the aftermath of the battle, as night enveloped Alexandria in a blanket of stars, the atmosphere was charged with a mixture of triumph and reflection. Cleopatra and Antony stood together on a balcony overlooking the city, the glow of the torches illuminating their faces. The sounds of celebration echoed from the camp below, but a sense of gravity hung in the air. "We did it," Cleopatra said softly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But the cost was high." Antony nodded, his expression serious. "We have won today, but we cannot forget the sacrifices made. We must honor those who fought alongside us." As they gazed out at the city, you could see the flicker of hope in Cleopatra's eyes, mingled with the shadows of doubt. What comes next? Our enemies will not simply accept our victory. They will regroup, and we must be prepared. Antony placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We will solidify our alliances and rebuild the trust that has been shaken. We cannot allow fear to dictate our actions." The next few days were filled with activity as Cleopatra and Antony worked to strengthen their position. They hosted gatherings to honor their fallen soldiers, inviting influential leaders from both Egypt and Rome to witness their commitment to unity. The bond between them, forged in the fires of battle, became a rallying cry for their supporters. You watched as Cleopatra spoke passionately about the future, her voice resonating with conviction. "Together we will create a legacy that honors our past while embracing the possibilities of tomorrow. Our love is our greatest strength, and it will guide us through whatever challenges lie ahead." The response from the crowd was electric. You could see the hope igniting in their eyes, a fervor that spread like wildfire. As the days turned into weeks, the atmosphere in Alexandria transformed. The city buzzed with renewed energy, a sense of purpose revitalizing the hearts of its citizens. As Cleopatra and Antony continued their outreach, you accompanied them to Rome, where they sought to solidify their alliances with influential leaders. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as they entered the grand halls of power, their presence commanding respect. You stood alongside them as they met with key figures, each conversation a delicate dance of diplomacy. Cleopatra's eloquence shone through as she articulated their vision for unity, while Antony's charisma captivated those who were skeptical. Yet, amidst the progress, you sensed the undercurrents of dissent still brewing. There were whispers of factions that opposed their alliance, and you could feel the tension in the air as they navigated these political waters. One evening, as they gathered with their advisors, an unexpected visitor arrived, a senator from Rome who had been a vocal opponent of Cleopatra's influence. The atmosphere grew tense as he entered the room, his expression a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. "Cleopatra, Antony," he began, his voice measured. "Your alliance has stirred quite the conversation in Rome. Many are still wary of your intentions. What guarantees can you provide that this union is for the benefit of both our realms?" Cleopatra met his gaze, her resolve unwavering. "Our love is our foundation, and it is built on mutual respect. We seek not to dominate, but to collaborate. Together we can create a future where both Egypt and Rome thrive." Antony added, "Unity is our strength. We have faced adversity together and emerged victorious. Let us not allow fear to cloud our judgment. We can achieve great things if we work together." The senator listened, his expression contemplative. "Words are powerful, but actions speak louder. You must demonstrate your commitment to this alliance. Only then will we begin to trust." In that moment you could feel the stakes rising. Cleopatra and Antony understood that they needed to prove their intentions beyond mere words. They would have to take bold steps to win over the doubters in Rome. As the discussions continued, you witnessed the determination in their eyes. They would not shy away from the challenges ahead. They would face them head-on. Days turned into weeks, and as Cleopatra and Antony prepared for a grand summit in Rome, you could sense the anticipation building. This would be their opportunity to solidify their alliances and showcase the strength of their bond. On the day of the summit, the grand hall was filled with influential leaders from across Rome, their expressions a mix of skepticism and intrigue. You could feel the tension in the air as Cleopatra and Antony took their places at the forefront, ready to present their vision. "Today we stand united," Cleopatra began, her voice resonating through the hall. "Our love is a testament to the power of collaboration. Together we can build a future where our kingdoms thrive." Antony stepped forward, his presence commanding attention. "We have proven that we can overcome adversity together. We invite you to join us in this endeavor to embrace the possibilities that lie ahead." As they spoke, you could see the flicker of hope beginning to spark among the attendees. The energy in the room shifted as they presented their plans for trade, cooperation, and mutual defense. You could feel the tide starting to turn, the whispers of dissent slowly fading. Yet, just as the atmosphere began to brighten, a voice broke through the crowd, a rival senator who had long opposed their alliance. "You speak of unity, but what assurance do we have that Cleopatra will not seek to undermine the interests of Rome?" The room fell silent, all eyes turning to Cleopatra. You could see the weight of the moment pressing down on her, but she stood tall, her resolve unwavering. "Let my actions prove my commitment," she replied, her voice steady. "Together we will build a foundation of trust that benefits us all. I will dedicate myself to ensuring that our alliance is one of strength and prosperity." The tension in the room hung thick, but you could sense a shift as some leaders began to nod in agreement. They were intrigued by the potential of a united front. one that could reshape the political landscape. As the summit continued, you watched as Cleopatra and Antony navigated the complexities of diplomacy with grace and determination. Their love story was unfolding before your eyes, a testament to resilience and ambition. Days turned into weeks, and the summit marked a turning point in their journey. The alliance began to solidify, and the foundations of trust were laid. You sensed the tides of support shifting, with more leaders expressing interest in joining their cause. But even as the atmosphere brightened, you remained acutely aware of the lingering shadows of dissent. The forces that opposed their union were still present, lurking in the background, waiting for an opportunity to strike. As Cleopatra and Antony continued their outreach, you felt the weight of their journey pressing down upon them. They had fought for their love and their vision, but the road ahead was still fraught with challenges. One fateful evening, as they prepared to return to Alexandria, you found them in a quiet moment together. The stars twinkled above, and you could see the weariness in their eyes, but also the flicker of hope. "We have come so far," Cleopatra said, her voice soft, "but I cannot shake the feeling that our struggles are far from over." Antony took her hands, his gaze steady. "We will face whatever comes together. Our love is our greatest strength, and it will guide us through the darkness." In that moment, you realized that their journey was far from finished. The love story of Cleopatra and Antony was a testament to resilience, one that would continue to unfold against the backdrop of history. As they prepared to return home, you felt the weight of their destinies intertwined, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together they would fight to preserve their love and their vision for a united future. As Cleopatra and Antony returned to Alexandria, the atmosphere was vibrant with the energy of newfound alliances. The summit in Rome had sparked interest among influential leaders, and the city buzzed with excitement. Yet, even amidst the optimism, you could feel the undercurrents of dissent that threatened to disrupt their hard-won progress. In the days following their return, Cleopatra and Antony focused on reinforcing the bonds they had forged. They opened the palace to emissaries from neighboring regions, eager to expand their coalition and unite their forces against potential threats. The halls of the palace became a hub of activity, filled with discussions of strategy and collaboration. One evening, Cleopatra convened a gathering with her advisors, her expression determined. "We must capitalize on the momentum from the summit," she urged. "Every ally we gain strengthens our position against those who oppose us. We need to show them the power of our unity." Antony chimed in, "We should also consider showcasing our military strength. A display of our capabilities will remind our skeptics that we are not to be underestimated." As they strategized, you sensed the weight of leadership pressing on them. Cleopatra's passion for Egypt and Antony's vision for Rome intertwined, creating a compelling narrative that inspired loyalty among their supporters. Days turned into weeks as the political landscape began to shift. You witnessed Cleopatra's influence growing, her charisma igniting a sense of pride among the citizens of Alexandria. She engaged with the people directly, speaking of a shared future and the benefits of their alliance. However, whispers of dissent persisted. Reports of factions rallying against Cleopatra's influence trickled in, and you could feel the tension rising. The opposition was not prepared to concede easily, and the threat of unrest loomed on the horizon. One fateful evening, as Cleopatra and Antony prepared for a public address, a messenger arrived with urgent news. A coalition of senators in Rome had begun to rally support against their alliance, seeking to undermine their efforts and sway public opinion. Cleopatra's expression darkened as she processed the information. We cannot allow them to destabilize our position. We must act quickly to solidify our alliances and quell any doubts. Antony's jaw tightened with resolve. We'll gather our supporters and prepare to confront this opposition. Our love and unity will be our greatest assets. In the following days, you witnessed the culmination of their efforts as they organized a grand assembly in Alexandria. They invited not only loyal supporters but also those who had previously been skeptical, presenting an opportunity to showcase their strength and commitment. The assembly gathered in the grand hall, the air thick with anticipation. Cleopatra and Antony took the stage, their presence commanding attention. Today, we stand on the cusp of a new era. Cleopatra proclaimed, her voice resonating powerfully. Together, we will build a future where Egypt and Rome thrive. The audience erupted in applause, their voices rising in affirmation. Antony stepped forward, his expression fierce. We have faced challenges and emerged stronger. Let us show our enemies that we will not be intimidated. As they spoke, you could see the energy in the room shift. The bond between Cleopatra and Antony became a beacon of hope, inspiring those who once doubted their alliance. Yet, just as the atmosphere began to brighten, a familiar voice cut through the crowd, a senator who had long opposed Cleopatra's influence. You speak of unity, but how can we trust that your ambitions won't lead us to ruin? The room fell silent, eyes turning to Cleopatra. You could feel the tension, but she stood firm, her gaze unwavering. My actions will prove my commitment. Together we will create a partnership that benefits both our realms. Antony added, We invite you to join us in this endeavor. We can achieve greatness if we work together. The senator hesitated, the resolve in their voices compelling. You sensed a shift as some leaders began to nod in agreement, the seeds of doubt slowly fading. As the assembly progressed, you witnessed Cleopatra and Antony engage passionately with their supporters, reinforcing the bonds of loyalty. Their love story unfolded as a powerful narrative, a testament to resilience and ambition. But just as the atmosphere brightened, a messenger arrived with urgent news. The opposing factions in Rome had declared their intention to confront Cleopatra directly, threatening to undermine her influence once and for all. The stakes had never been higher. Prepare for what's to come, Antony said, urgency in his voice. This is a direct challenge to our alliance, and we cannot allow them to dictate our future. Cleopatra's expression hardened as she absorbed the news. We will confront them. Our love and unity will guide us through this challenge. As the night deepened, you felt the weight of their destinies intertwining. The love story of Cleopatra and Antony was set to be tested, but you knew that together they would rise to the occasion. With determination in their hearts, Cleopatra and Antony prepared to face the forces that sought to tear them apart. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but their love would be the guiding light that illuminated their way forward. As the sun rose over Alexandria, casting golden rays across the city, a sense of urgency filled the air. Cleopatra and Antony stood on the balcony of the palace, surveying the bustling streets below. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation. The impending confrontation with the opposing factions in Rome loomed large. Today is crucial, Cleopatra said, her voice steady but filled with determination. We need to show our supporters that we are united and prepared to face any challenge. Antony nodded, his gaze intense. We must solidify our alliances even further. If we can bring more influential leaders to our side, it will strengthen our position significantly. As they planned their strategy, you felt the weight of history pressing upon them. Their love story had already inspired many, but now it would be tested in the fires of political conflict. In the days leading up to the confrontation, you accompanied Cleopatra and Antony on a series of visits to key allies and influential leaders. Each meeting was filled with passionate discussions where they articulated their vision for a united future. Cleopatra's eloquence and Antony's charisma captivated those they spoke to, slowly winning over even the most skeptical leaders. One evening, you found yourselves in the grand hall of a prominent ally's palace. The atmosphere was tense as they gathered influential senators and military leaders from both Rome and Egypt. As Cleopatra addressed the assembly, her voice rang out with purpose. Together we can forge a future that benefits both our realms, she declared. Our alliance is built on mutual respect and shared ambitions. We must stand together against those who seek to divide us. The crowd responded with murmurs of agreement, but you could sense that not everyone was convinced. You noticed a few senators exchanging glances, their skepticism palpable. Antony stepped forward, his presence commanding. We have faced adversity together and emerged victorious. Our love and unity must guide us in the face of opposition. We cannot allow fear to dictate our actions. As the discussions continued, you could see the atmosphere slowly shifting. Some of the skeptics began to nod, their expressions softening as they listened to the passionate pleas of their leaders. However, just as the tide seemed to turn, a loud voice interrupted from the back of the hall, a senator known for his strong opposition to Cleopatra. You speak of unity, but what guarantees do we have that Cleopatra will not use this alliance to further her own ambitions at Rome's expense? The room fell silent, eyes turning to Cleopatra. You could feel the tension in the air, and you sensed this was a pivotal moment. Cleopatra took a deep breath, her composure unwavering. My actions will speak for my intentions, she replied firmly. I am dedicated to ensuring that our alliance is one of strength and mutual benefit. We will work together to create a prosperous future for both Egypt and Rome. The senator scoffed. Words are easy. We need to see commitment, not just hear it. Antony stepped in, his voice steady. Then let us demonstrate our commitment. We propose joint military exercises, collaborative trade agreements, and shared resources to show that our alliance is not just talk, but action. The crowd buzzed with interest, and you could sense the shifting dynamics. Leaders began to murmur amongst themselves, intrigued by the practical steps proposed. Days passed as Cleopatra and Antony continued their outreach. With every discussion, you witnessed the growing support for their alliance. The energy in Alexandria became electric. Citizens rallied behind their leaders, their hope ignited by the prospect of a united future. But as the political landscape shifted, the opposing factions in Rome grew more desperate. You received word that they were planning a counter-summit, aiming to sway public opinion and rally their supporters against Cleopatra and Antony. The urgency of the situation escalated. We must act swiftly, Cleopatra said, her voice filled with resolve. If they succeed in undermining our credibility, it could jeopardize everything we've built. Antony's expression hardened. we'll need to counter their narrative with our own. Let's invite the leaders who support us to a grand assembly in Alexandria, showcasing our strength and unity. As preparations began for the assembly, you felt a sense of purpose among the citizens. The palace was alive with activity, and the excitement was palpable. Cleopatra and Antony worked tirelessly, ensuring that every detail was perfect for the gathering. On the day of the assembly, the grand hall was filled to capacity, a sea of eager faces. As Cleopatra and Antony took the stage, a hush fell over the crowd. "Today we stand together," Cleopatra proclaimed, her voice ringing with conviction. "Our love and unity will guide us as we forge a new path forward. Together we will show our strength against those who seek to divide us." Cheers erupted from the audience, and you could feel the energy in the room surge. Antony stepped forward, his gaze sweeping across the crowd. "We will not be intimidated. Our alliance is built on trust and respect, and we will prove our commitment through action." As the assembly unfolded, you watched as Cleopatra and Antony engaged passionately with their supporters, reinforcing the bonds of loyalty. Their love story was unfolding as a powerful narrative, a testament to resilience and ambition. But as they spoke, you sensed an undercurrent of tension in the air. The opposing factions would not remain silent, and their efforts to undermine Cleopatra and Antony were far from over. As the assembly concluded and the crowd began to disperse, you felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. The love story of Cleopatra and Antony was not just a tale of romance. It had become a symbol of resilience and courage in the face of adversity. Yet you knew that the journey ahead was still fraught with challenges. With the opposing factions growing more aggressive, the battle for acceptance and unity was far from won. The next chapter of their story was about to unfold, and you could feel the anticipation in the air. As dawn broke over Alexandria, Cleopatra and Antony prepared for a pivotal moment in their journey. The assembly just days prior had ignited hope among their supporters, but the opposing factions were not idle. Whispers of a counter-summit in Rome intensified, and you could sense the urgency in the air. Cleopatra stood before her advisers in the grand hall, her expression resolute. "We cannot allow our enemies to dictate the narrative. We must act decisively to reaffirm our alliances and showcase our strength." Antony nodded, his eyes filled with determination. "Let's organize a series of public demonstrations of our military and economic capabilities. We need to show that our alliance is not just talk. It's backed by action." You watched as they strategized, their chemistry undeniable. Cleopatra's wisdom and Antony's charisma formed a powerful partnership, one that inspired loyalty among their followers. But amidst the planning, you could still feel the undercurrents of opposition lurking just beneath the surface. In the days that followed, preparations for the public demonstrations began. The streets of Alexandria buzzed with excitement as citizens rallied behind their leaders. You accompanied Cleopatra and Antony as they visited various military camps where soldiers trained tirelessly, ready to showcase their skills. One afternoon, as you stood on the training grounds, you witnessed Cleopatra addressing a group of soldiers. "Today we prepare not just for battle, but for the future we are building together. Your strength and loyalty are the foundation of this alliance." The soldiers responded with cheers, their spirits ignited by her words. You could see the pride in their eyes, a testament to the bond between their leaders and the people. As the demonstrations approached, the city was transformed. Banners adorned the streets, and the atmosphere was electric with anticipation. You could sense that this was not just a display of military strength, but a celebration of unity and resilience. On the day of the first demonstration, you found yourself among a vast crowd gathered in the central square. Cleopatra and Antony stood before the people, their presence commanding attention. "Today we stand united," Cleopatra proclaimed, her voice resonating through the air. "Together we will show our enemies that we are strong and unyielding." Antony stepped forward, his gaze sweeping over the crowd. "Our love and unity will guide us as we forge a new path. We will not be intimidated by those who seek to divide us." As the demonstrations unfolded, you watched in awe as soldiers showcased their skills in a display of strength and coordination. The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices rising in affirmation. It was a powerful moment, a testament to the spirit of Alexandria. But just as the atmosphere reached a fever pitch, a messenger arrived with urgent news. The opposing factions in Rome had begun their counter-summit, gathering influential leaders to rally against Cleopatra and Antony's alliance. You could see the concern etched on Cleopatra's face as she absorbed the information. "We need to counter their narrative," Cleopatra said, her voice filled with urgency. "We cannot allow them to sway public opinion against us." Antony's expression hardened. "We'll need to send envoys to Rome immediately, reinforcing our alliances and sharing the successes of our demonstrations. We can't let this moment slip away." In the days that followed, you accompanied them as they dispatched envoys to key leaders in Rome, sharing the details of their unity and strength. As the messages traveled, you witnessed the determination in Cleopatra and Antony's eyes. Yet, amidst their efforts, you could feel the shadow of opposition growing. The factions that opposed them were not going to back down easily, and you sensed that the battle for their alliance was far from over. One evening, as the stars twinkled above, Cleopatra and Antony gathered with their closest advisors in the palace. You could feel the tension in the room as they discussed their next moves. "We must prepare for possible retaliation," Antony urged. "Our enemies will likely try to undermine us further." Cleopatra nodded, her expression resolute. "We will not only defend our position, but also strengthen our alliances. We need to show that our love and unity are unbreakable." As the days turned into weeks, the tension between both factions escalated. You sensed a palpable shift in the air, the battle lines being drawn. The love story of Cleopatra and Antony was becoming a saga of resilience and courage, one that would determine the fate of their kingdoms. On the eve of another public demonstration, you found Cleopatra in the palace gardens, her expression contemplative. "What if we can't overcome this opposition?" she mused, her voice barely above a whisper. Antony joined her, taking her hands in his. "We have already faced insurmountable odds and emerged victorious. Our love is a powerful force, and together we can confront whatever challenges lie ahead." In that moment, you could see the unwavering bond between them, an anchor amidst the storm. The next day, they would face their opponents head-on, ready to defend their love and their vision for a united future. As the sun set over Alexandria, the city glowed with the promise of hope. You knew that the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, but the love story of Cleopatra and Antony was set to unfold in ways that would echo through history. As dawn broke over Alexandria, the atmosphere crackled with anticipation. Cleopatra and Antony prepared for another public demonstration. this time intending to showcase not just military strength, but the cultural richness of their alliance. They understood that to win hearts and minds, they needed to present a unified vision that extended beyond mere politics. In the grand hall of the palace, Cleopatra gathered her closest advisors. "We must highlight the benefits of our partnership," she said, her voice filled with determination. "Let us celebrate our shared culture, our innovations, and the prosperity that our alliance brings." Antony nodded in agreement, his brow furrowed with focus. A festival showcasing the arts, trade, and our military prowess could resonate deeply with both our people and those in Rome. We need to show that our alliance is not just about power, but about a shared future. You felt the energy in the room shift as plans were laid out for the upcoming festival. The idea of a grand celebration infused the palace with excitement, and preparations began in earnest. Merchants, artists, and soldiers were called upon to participate, each playing a vital role in illustrating the vibrancy of their united kingdoms. As the days passed, you accompanied Cleopatra and Antony throughout the city, witnessing the preparations unfold. Colorful banners were hung, stalls were set up, and musicians practiced their performances. The atmosphere turned festive, with citizens buzzing with anticipation. One afternoon you found Cleopatra visiting artisans in the marketplace. She engaged with them warmly, listening to their stories and encouraging them to showcase their crafts during the festival. "Your talents are the heartbeat of our culture," she told them. "Together we can create something beautiful that reflects our shared vision." That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, you gathered with Cleopatra and Antony at a banquet, celebrating the progress made. The hall was adorned with flowers and candles, the air filled with laughter and the aromas of delicious food. "This festival will be a turning point," Antony declared, raising his goblet. "It will show the world that our love and unity are not just political maneuvers, but a genuine partnership that will benefit all." As the banquet continued, laughter echoed through the halls, but a sense of unease lingered in the background. You could feel the tension, knowing that the opposing factions were still plotting in Rome, eager to disrupt their efforts. On the day of the festival, Alexandria transformed into a vibrant tapestry of colors. The streets were alive with music, laughter, and the smells of exquisite cuisine. Cleopatra and Antony moved among the crowds, greeting citizens and enjoying the festivities. You watched as Cleopatra took the stage, her presence commanding. "Welcome, people of Alexandria. Today we celebrate the strength of our alliance. Our love is a beacon of hope, guiding us toward a prosperous future." Cheers erupted from the crowd, their voices echoing through the square. Antony joined her, his gaze sweeping over the enthusiastic faces. "Let us show our enemies that we are united. Together we will forge a legacy that will echo through the ages." As the festival unfolded, you witnessed performances from musicians, dancers, and artists, each showcasing the rich culture that thrived in their united kingdoms. The atmosphere was electric, a palpable sense of pride and unity enveloping the crowd. However, just as the festivities reached their peak, a commotion erupted at the back of the square. You turned to see a group of dissenters pushing forward, their shouts piercing through the joyful atmosphere. "This alliance is a facade. Cleopatra seeks only to gain power at our expense." The crowd's cheers faded into murmurs of concern. You felt the tension rise as the dissenters began to chant, trying to disrupt the celebration. Cleopatra and Antony exchanged worried glances, aware that this was a direct challenge to their authority. "Stay calm," Antony shouted, stepping forward. "This is a celebration of our unity. We will not be intimidated by those who seek to sow discord." Cleopatra joined him, her voice steady. "We invite you to join us in our vision for a shared future. Our alliance is built on respect, love, and mutual benefit. We will not allow fear to dictate our actions." As they spoke, you could see the crowd beginning to respond, their loyalty ignited once more. Many began to cheer, rallying around their leaders. But the dissenters pressed on, refusing to back down. In a moment of urgency, you approached Cleopatra and Antony. "We need to address this directly. If we don't confront their accusations, it could undermine everything we've worked for." Cleopatra nodded, her expression resolute. "Let's invite their leaders to speak. We will demonstrate our commitment to transparency and unity." With a determined stride, Cleopatra gestured for the dissenters to approach the stage. "We welcome your voices. Let us discuss our future openly so that all can understand our intentions." The leaders of the dissenting group hesitated, but ultimately stepped forward, clearly caught off guard by Cleopatra's invitation. The tension was thick, but this was a pivotal moment. "Speak," Cleopatra commanded, her voice steady. "Let us hear your concerns." The dissenting leader stepped forward, his expression defiant. "You claim to seek unity, yet your actions suggest otherwise. How can we trust that your alliance with Antony will not come at the expense of Egypt?" Antony stepped in, his voice calm but firm. "Our love and partnership are not about power. They are about creating a future where both our kingdoms thrive. We are stronger together, and we invite all of you to be part of this journey." As the conversation unfolded, you could feel the crowd's energy shift. The dissenters' arguments began to wane as more citizens rallied behind Cleopatra and Antony's vision. The atmosphere transformed, with cheers of support rising from the crowd. By the end of the festival, the opposition had diminished, replaced by a renewed sense of hope and unity. You could see the impact of Cleopatra and Antony's words. Their love story was no longer just a personal narrative, but had become a powerful symbol of resilience and collaboration. As the sun set over Alexandria, casting a warm glow on the city, you felt a surge of optimism. The challenges they faced were far from over, but today had marked a significant victory for Cleopatra and Antony. Together they had confronted dissent and emerged stronger, ready to face whatever lay ahead. As the festivities of the festival faded into memory, Cleopatra and Antony faced a new reality. The successful demonstration of unity had garnered significant support, but the remnants of opposition still lingered, especially from the factions in Rome. In the days that followed, you saw a shift in energy among the citizens of Alexandria. The festival had ignited a sense of pride, yet whispers of dissent still echoed in the corners of the city. Cleopatra and Antony knew they had to maintain momentum, and their focus turned toward strengthening their diplomatic ties even further. One afternoon in the palace gardens, Cleopatra gathered her advisors. "We must solidify our relationships with Rome," she said, her tone resolute. "Let's send envoys to key leaders, emphasizing the benefits our alliance brings to their interests." Antony nodded in agreement. "We can illustrate how a united front can enhance trade and security for both our realms. If we can win over influential voices in Rome, we can effectively counter any remaining opposition." You watched as they crafted letters outlining their vision, and inviting important figures to visit Alexandria. With each envoy sent, you felt a renewed sense of purpose among their supporters. The bond between Cleopatra and Antony was evolving, transforming into a powerful diplomatic alliance. Days turned into weeks, and the responses began to trickle in. Many leaders expressed interest in visiting Alexandria to witness the thriving partnership firsthand. The anticipation in the palace was palpable as the dates for their arrival approached. Then, one fateful morning, you received news that a prominent senator from Rome was en route to Alexandria, one known for his influence and connections. Cleopatra and Antony were excited but cautious, aware of the senator's reputation for skepticism. As preparations began for the senator's arrival, you accompanied Cleopatra and Antony as they discussed how best to impress their guest. We must showcase not only our military strength, but also the cultural richness of our alliance, Cleopatra insisted. Let him see the prosperity we have built together. Antony agreed, adding, "We'll arrange a grand banquet, featuring our finest artisans and soldiers." The senator must leave with a clear understanding of the benefits our alliance offers. On the day of the senator's arrival, you felt a mix of excitement and tension in the air. The palace was adorned with flowers, and the aroma of exquisite dishes filled the halls. Cleopatra and Antony awaited their guest in the grand dining room, their expressions a blend of anticipation and resolve. When the senator finally arrived, he was greeted with a warm welcome. Cleopatra and Antony presented themselves with poise, their charisma shining through. "Welcome to Alexandria," Cleopatra said, her voice inviting. "We are honored to host you." The senator smiled politely, but remained guarded. "Thank you for your hospitality. I've come to witness the alliance you speak of so highly." As the banquet unfolded, the atmosphere shifted. Cleopatra and Antony showcased the rich culture of their partnership. Musicians played enchanting melodies, dancers performed captivating routines, and artists displayed their finest works. The senator observed, his demeanor gradually softening. You could see the senator engaging more with the festivities, asking questions about the partnership and the benefits it could bring to Rome. Cleopatra and Antony shared stories of their collaboration, illustrating how their unity had already begun to yield positive results. Yet, as the evening progressed, you sensed the senator's skepticism still lingered. After the entertainment concluded, he turned to Cleopatra and Antony, his tone serious. "Your alliance is impressive, but many in Rome remain concerned about the balance of power. How can you assure us that this partnership will not come at Rome's expense?" Cleopatra met his gaze, her expression unwavering. "Our partnership is rooted in mutual benefit. We seek to enhance trade, bolster security, and create a legacy that honors both our kingdoms. Together we are stronger, and we will not allow ambition to overshadow our unity." Antony added, "We understand the concerns, and that's why we're committed to transparency. We will work closely with Rome to ensure that our alliance is advantageous for all parties involved." The senator nodded slowly, seemingly considering their words. Actions speak louder than words. It will take time for skepticism to fade, but I see potential in your vision. As the evening concluded, the senator expressed his gratitude for the hospitality. "I'll return to Rome with a more positive outlook, but know that the road ahead will require vigilance on both sides." After the senator departed, you felt a sense of relief wash over Cleopatra and Antony. They had faced a significant challenge and emerged with a glimmer of hope. The visit had not only showcased their partnership, but had also opened doors for further dialogue. In the days that followed, you noticed a shift in the political landscape. More leaders in Rome began to express interest in the alliance, intrigued by the success of the demonstrations and the positive response from the senator. However, the opposing factions were still plotting, desperate to disrupt the momentum. You received word that they were organizing a public rally in Rome, determined to sway public opinion against Cleopatra and Antony's alliance. "This is a direct challenge," Antony said, his voice filled with urgency. "We need to counter their narrative before it gains traction." Cleopatra's expression hardened. "We will not be intimidated. Let's send another envoy to Rome, reinforcing our commitment and inviting more leaders to witness our progress firsthand." As they prepared the new envoy, you could feel the stakes rising. The love story of Cleopatra and Antony was becoming an epic tale of resilience, ambition, and the struggle for acceptance. The next chapter awaited them, filled with challenges that would test their bond and their vision for the future. As the sun set over Alexandria, casting a warm glow across the city, you knew that Cleopatra and Antony were ready to face whatever lay ahead. Their love, forged in the fires of ambition, would guide them through the storm. As the sun rose over Alexandria, Cleopatra and Antony prepared for the next phase of their journey. The recent visit from the senator had sparked renewed hope, but the opposing factions in Rome were growing more aggressive. Their public rally was set to take place soon, and it was clear that countering their narrative was paramount. In the palace, Cleopatra and Antony gathered with their advisors to strategize. "We need to respond decisively," Cleopatra said, her voice firm. "We cannot allow misinformation to undermine our efforts." Antony nodded, his expression serious. "We should hold a press conference here in Alexandria, inviting reporters and influential leaders to witness our unity and the strength of our alliance firsthand." You could see the determination in their eyes, a fierce resolve to confront the challenges ahead. The idea of a press conference was bold, but you sensed it could serve as a powerful counter to the dissent brewing in Rome. In the days leading up to the event, the palace buzzed with activity. You watched as Cleopatra and Antony worked tirelessly, preparing their messages and ensuring that every detail was perfect. They engaged with their supporters, rallying the citizens of Alexandria to show their solidarity. On the day of the press conference, the Grand Hall was filled with reporters, diplomats, and citizens eager to witness this pivotal moment. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as Cleopatra and Antony took the stage, their presence commanding attention. "Welcome, friends and supporters," Cleopatra began, her voice resonating with confidence. "Today we stand united as a testament to the strength of our love and our alliance. Together we will build a future that benefits both Egypt and Rome." Antony stepped forward, his gaze sweeping over the audience. "We are here to address the concerns raised by our opponents. Our partnership is built on mutual respect and shared ambitions. We will not allow fear or misinformation to dictate our actions." As they spoke, you could see the energy in the room shift. The crowd responded with enthusiasm, their cheers echoing through the hall. The bond between Cleopatra and Antony was palpable, a powerful symbol of hope and resilience. However, as the press conference continued, the atmosphere shifted once more. A reporter from a prominent Roman publication raised a hand, a skeptical expression on his face. "You speak of unity, but many in Rome remain concerned that your alliance may threaten our interests. What guarantees can you provide?" Cleopatra met his gaze, her expression unwavering. Our alliance is not about power, it is about collaboration. We seek to enhance trade, security, and cultural exchange. Together we can create a legacy that honors both our kingdoms. Antony added, "We understand the skepticism. That's why we are committed to transparency and cooperation. Our love and partnership will not only benefit us, but also strengthen the bonds between our peoples." The reporter nodded slowly, seemingly considering their words. The atmosphere in the hall shifted once more as the crowd began to murmur in agreement. You could feel the tide turning, the energy shifting in favor of Cleopatra and Antony. As the press conference concluded, you sensed a surge of hope among the citizens and leaders present. The love story of Cleopatra and Antony was no longer just a personal narrative. It had become a powerful symbol of resilience against adversity. In the days that followed, you observed a growing wave of support in both Alexandria and Rome. Reports from the counter-rally indicated that while dissenters had gathered, they were met with increasing skepticism from the public. The narrative was shifting, and Cleopatra and Antony's message of unity was beginning to resonate. However, the opposing factions were not ready to concede. You received news that they were planning another direct confrontation, this time attempting to undermine Cleopatra's reputation in the Senate. "We must remain vigilant," Antony said, his expression tense. "They will not give up easily, and we need to counter their attacks before they escalate." Cleopatra's brow furrowed in thought. "Let's reach out to our allies in Rome, urging them to defend our alliance publicly. If we can rally influential leaders to speak on our behalf, it will reinforce our position." As they prepared to send envoys to their allies, you felt a mixture of hope and apprehension. The love story of Cleopatra and Antony was evolving into a saga of political intrigue, a battle not just for their love but for their vision of a united future. On the eve of their next strategic move, you found Cleopatra in the palace gardens, the moonlight casting a gentle glow around her. "What if we can't overcome this opposition?" she mused, her voice barely above a whisper. Antony joined her, taking her hands in his. "We've faced challenges before and emerged stronger. Our love is a powerful force, and together we can confront whatever lies ahead." In that moment, you felt the weight of their bond and anchor amidst the storm. As the sun set over Alexandria, casting a warm glow across the city, you knew that Cleopatra and Antony were ready to face whatever lay ahead. Their love, forged in the fires of ambition and resilience, would guide them through the trials to come. As dawn broke over Alexandria, Cleopatra and Antony prepared for the next chapter in their unfolding saga. The summit had been a significant success, but the specter of opposition still loomed large. The factions in Rome were not backing down, and their determination to undermine the alliance was palpable. In the palace, Cleopatra and Antony convened with their advisors to strategize their next moves. "We must anticipate the actions of our opponents," Cleopatra urged, her expression resolute. "We cannot afford to be caught off guard." Antony nodded, his brow furrowed in thought. "Let's solidify our support in Rome further. We need to identify influential leaders who can serve as our allies and amplify our message." You watched as they discussed potential allies, mapping out their connections and the best ways to approach them. The urgency in the room was palpable, and you could sense the weight of the political landscape pressing down on them. In the days that followed, Cleopatra and Antony dispatched envoys to key leaders in Rome. emphasizing the importance of their alliance and inviting them to visit Alexandria. The hope was that first-hand experience of their partnership would sway even the most skeptical. As preparations continued, you noticed a shift in the atmosphere in Alexandria. Citizens rallied around their leaders, their pride in the alliance growing. The love story of Cleopatra and Antony was becoming a source of inspiration, and the palace buzzed with activity. One evening, as you accompanied Cleopatra on a visit to a local artisan, she shared her vision for the future. Our alliance is not just about politics. It's about creating a legacy of culture, trade, and mutual respect, she said, her passion evident. I want our people to see the tangible benefits of our partnership. The artisan nodded enthusiastically. Your vision inspires us, Queen Cleopatra. Together we can build something remarkable. As the days turned into weeks, you felt a palpable sense of momentum building. Reports came in from Rome that some leaders were beginning to speak positively about the alliance, and the tide seemed to be shifting in favor of Cleopatra and Antony. However, just as hope began to flourish, you received troubling news. The opposing factions had intensified their efforts, launching a smear campaign against Cleopatra. Rumors circulated in Rome, painting her as a manipulative figure seeking to dominate both Egypt and Rome. This is a direct attack on our reputation, Antony said, his voice tense. We need to counter these lies immediately. Cleopatra's eyes narrowed with determination. We will not allow their misinformation to define us. Let's organize a counter-campaign, showcasing our successes and the genuine benefits of our alliance. You watched as they crafted a comprehensive plan to address the rumors. They decided to release a series of public statements, highlight successful trade agreements, and share testimonials from citizens and leaders who had benefited from their partnership. As the counter-campaign rolled out, you felt the energy in Alexandria shift once more. Cleopatra and Antony held public gatherings, inviting citizens to share their experiences and reinforcing the narrative of unity and progress. One afternoon you attended a gathering in the central square where Cleopatra addressed the crowd. We stand together as a testament to what we can achieve through love and collaboration. Our alliance is built on mutual respect, and we will not allow fear to dictate our future. The crowd erupted in cheers, their loyalty evident. You could see the impact of Cleopatra's words, the way they resonated with the people. The narrative was beginning to shift, and hope was rekindled. In the days that followed, reports from Rome indicated that the smear campaign was faltering. Influential leaders who had initially been skeptical began to speak out in favor of Cleopatra and Antony's alliance, impressed by the unity and resilience displayed in Alexandria. But just as victory seemed within reach, you received word that the opposing factions were planning a grand demonstration in Rome aimed at discrediting Cleopatra and rallying public opinion against her. We cannot allow this to happen, Antony warned, his expression fierce. We need to take decisive action to protect what we've built. Cleopatra's brow furrowed in thought. Let's send a delegation to Rome, led by our most trusted allies. They can counter the narrative and reinforce our message directly to the Senate. As they prepared to send the delegation, you could feel the stakes rising. The love story of Cleopatra and Antony was evolving into a dramatic tale of resilience, ambition, and the struggle for acceptance. On the night before the delegation was set to leave, you found Cleopatra in the palace gardens, her gaze fixed on the stars. What if this demonstration undermines everything we've worked for? She mused, her voice filled with concern. Antony joined her, taking her hands in his. We've faced challenges before and emerged stronger. Our love and unity will guide us through whatever lies ahead. In that moment, you felt the unwavering bond between them, a powerful anchor amidst the storm. As the moonlight bathed the garden in silver, you knew they were ready to face the trials to come. Their love, forged in ambition and resilience, would be their guiding light. As you navigate the bustling streets of Alexandria, the vibrant atmosphere is intoxicating. The sun casts a warm glow, illuminating the banners that celebrate the alliance between Cleopatra and Antony. You feel the excitement of the citizens around you, their hope palpable, as they rally behind their leaders. However, you are acutely aware of the looming shadow of Senator Marcus Valerius. His reputation as a cunning politician precedes him, and whispers of his plans swirl in the air. As you move through the crowd, you catch snippets of conversations, people expressing their concerns about the senator's influence in Rome and the potential threat he poses to the alliance. You find yourself in the grand hall of the palace, where Cleopatra and Antony are strategizing their next moves. The tension is thick, and you can sense the urgency in their voices. Cleopatra's passionate resolve inspires you, while Antony's charisma draws you in. You feel like a vital part of this unfolding story, witnessing history being made. When the time comes for the delegation to depart for Rome, you accompany them, your heart racing with anticipation. As the envoys share their experiences and insights, you absorb every detail, feeling the weight of their mission. You know that their success could mean the difference between unity and division. In the Senate Hall, the atmosphere crackles with tension as Marcus Valerius takes the stage. You can feel the energy shift as he speaks, his words weaving a narrative filled with fear and doubt. You notice how he commands attention, his piercing blue eyes scanning the crowd, igniting skepticism about Cleopatra's intentions. As the lead envoy stands to counter Marcus's claims, you feel a surge of hope. You lean forward, hanging on every word as they articulate the benefits of the alliance, sharing stories that resonate with the audience. The tide begins to turn, and you can see the flicker of change in the senator's expressions. When the delegation returns to Alexandria, the atmosphere in the palace is electric. You stand among the supporters, your heart swelling with pride as the lead envoy delivers the news of growing support in Rome. You realize that you are not just an observer. You are part of a larger narrative, a story of love, resilience, and the fight for a united future. As the celebrations unfold, you feel the warmth of camaraderie enveloping you. This is a moment of triumph, a testament to the power of unity against adversity. You are reminded that history is not just a series of events. It is a tapestry woven from the hopes and dreams of those who dare to stand together. In the heart of Alexandria, surrounded by the echoes of laughter and cheers, you know that you are witnessing a love story that transcends time, one that will be remembered for generations to come. After the climactic vote in the Senate, where the alliance between Cleopatra and Antony is ultimately upheld, Senator Marcus Valerius faces a significant turning point. His efforts to undermine the partnership have backfired, and the tide of public opinion has shifted against him. In the days following the vote, Marcus finds himself increasingly isolated. Many of his former allies distance themselves, fearful of the backlash from the citizens who now see the benefits of the alliance. The charismatic leader who once commanded attention and respect becomes a figure of scorn among those who had supported him. Determined not to be defeated, Marcus begins to plot his next move. He retreats to his estate, where he strategizes and gathers intelligence on his opponents. He seeks to exploit any weaknesses within Cleopatra and Antony's alliance, hoping to regain his influence. His cunning nature drives him to consider alliances with other dissenters who share his vision of a Rome free from external influence. However, as he rallies a small faction of loyal supporters, he faces a moral dilemma. Deep down, he grapples with the realization that his ambition may lead to further division within Rome, a fate he initially sought to avoid. This internal conflict begins to weigh on him, challenging his motivations and the legacy he wishes to leave behind. In a final attempt to regain his standing, Marcus decides to publicly address the Senate one last time. He presents a revised vision for Rome, one that acknowledges the importance of collaboration while still asserting its sovereignty. His speech attempts to bridge the gap between his faction and those who support the alliance. Though met with mixed reactions, it becomes clear that Marcus is evolving, recognizing that the future of Rome may depend on cooperation rather than division. This moment marks a significant shift in his character, a realization that perhaps collaboration with Cleopatra and Antony could lead to a stronger Rome. Ultimately, Senator Marcus Valerius remains a contentious figure, but his journey takes him from a place of opposition to one of reluctant acceptance. While he remains wary of Cleopatra and Antony's influence, he begins to explore the possibility of a more united Rome, one where diverse voices can coexist, and where his own ambition might serve a greater good. This transformation opens the door for future interactions, where he could become an unexpected ally or a persistent thorn in the side of Cleopatra and Antony, depending on how events unfold. As the political landscape shifts, the love story of Cleopatra and Antony deepens, providing a rich backdrop to the unfolding drama. Their bond, forged in passion and ambition, becomes a powerful force that transcends the challenges they face. In the aftermath of the Senate vote, the weight of their responsibilities draws Cleopatra and Antony closer together. They find solace in each other's presence, often retreating to the palace gardens, where the scent of jasmine fills the air. Here, away from the prying eyes of the court, they share their hopes and fears, their laughter mingling with the gentle rustle of leaves. One evening, as the sun sets, casting a golden hue over Alexandria, Cleopatra takes Antony's hand, her eyes reflecting the fading light. "We have fought so hard to build this alliance, but I fear for what lies ahead. Will our love be enough to withstand the pressures of politics?" Antony squeezes her hand, his gaze steady and reassuring. "Our love is our greatest strength. It has already weathered storms that would have torn apart lesser bonds. Together we can face anything." Their connection is palpable, a blend of passion and mutual respect. They often engage in spirited debates, challenging each other's views while finding common ground. This intellectual intimacy enhances their emotional bond, making their love story not only romantic, but also one of partnership and shared vision. However, the pressures of leadership often lead to moments of tension. During heated discussions about strategy, their differing perspectives can spark arguments. Yet, these conflicts only serve to deepen their understanding of one another. After each disagreement, they find themselves drawn back together, realizing that their differences are part of what makes them a formidable team. As they navigate the complexities of political alliances, moments of tenderness become essential. In quiet corners of the palace, they steal away for secret meetings, sharing whispered promises and stolen kisses. These intimate encounters serve as a reminder of their commitment to one another amid the chaos of their lives. Yet, the looming presence of Marcus Valerius adds tension to their relationship. As he continues to challenge their alliance, Cleopatra feels the weight of his opposition, sometimes questioning whether their love can withstand the pressures of public perception. Antony, too, becomes increasingly protective, driven by a desire to shield Cleopatra from the attacks that threaten to undermine her. One night, after a particularly challenging day filled with political maneuvering, Cleopatra finds solace in Antony's arms. What if they succeed in turning Rome against us? She asks, her voice tinged with vulnerability. Antony brushes a strand of hair behind her ear, his expression softening. Then we will face it together, as we always have. Our love as a beacon that will guide us through the darkest times. I believe in us and our vision. In that moment, the connection between them solidifies, a promise that transcends the political turmoil surrounding them. Their love story becomes a symbol of resilience, a testament to the power of partnership in the face of adversity. As the political climate continues to shift, Cleopatra and Antony's bond evolves. They learn to balance their roles as leaders with their desires as lovers, understanding that their strength lies not only in their alliance, but in their unwavering commitment to each other. In the end, their love story is not just one of romance. It is a saga of two powerful figures who find strength in vulnerability, who embrace their differences, and who remain steadfast in their belief that together they can forge a legacy that will endure through the ages. As the political landscape continues to shift, a new chapter unfolds in the love story of Cleopatra and Antony. Amid the whirlwind of alliances and opposition, their bond deepens in an unexpected way the prospect of family. In the weeks following the grand celebration, Cleopatra begins to notice subtle changes within herself. At first, she dismisses them as mere stress from the political turmoil. However, as days pass, the realization dawns on her. She is pregnant. The news fills her with a mix of joy and trepidation. One evening, under the soft glow of the moonlight in the palace gardens, Cleopatra decides to confide in Antony. As they stroll hand in hand, the fragrance of blooming flowers envelops them, creating a serene atmosphere. "Antony," she begins, her voice lightly trembling, "I have something to share with you that will change everything." He turns to her, concern etched on his face. "What is it, my love?" Taking a deep breath, she reveals her secret. "I am with child." For a moment, time seems to stand still. Antony's eyes widen with surprise, and then a radiant smile spreads across his face. "A child. This is wonderful news, Cleopatra." He pulls her into an embrace, lifting her off her feet in sheer joy. As they share this intimate moment, Cleopatra feels a surge of warmth and love. Yet she also grapples with the implications of bringing a child into a world fraught with political strife. "But what does this mean for us?" she asks, her voice tinged with uncertainty. Antony, sensing her apprehension, replies with conviction. "It means we have a chance to create a legacy one that embodies our love and strength. We will nurture this child in a world that we will shape together. Our love can be a guiding light for them." As the weeks progress, Cleopatra and Antony navigate the new dynamics of their relationship. The pregnancy brings them closer, deepening their emotional intimacy. They spend evenings discussing hopes and dreams for their future child, imagining the possibilities that lie ahead. In private moments, they share tender gestures. Antony often places his hand on Cleopatra's growing belly, feeling the life within her. "I can't wait to meet our little one," he says, his voice filled with wonder. However, the challenges of leadership weigh heavily on Cleopatra. She worries about how her pregnancy will be perceived by the Senate and the citizens of Rome. They may see this as a distraction or a weakness, she confides to Antony one evening. Antony reassures her, his gaze unwavering. "Our love and family will strengthen our position." A child symbolizes hope and continuity. We will show them that love can coexist with power. As the pregnancy progresses, Cleopatra begins to embrace her role as a mother. She surrounds herself with advisors who understand the importance of balancing her duties with her impending motherhood. Together they create plans for how to navigate the political landscape while preparing for the arrival of their child. The couple's love story becomes a beacon of hope for their supporters. Citizens of Alexandria rally around the idea of a royal family, envisioning a future where Cleopatra and Antony's child will symbolize unity between Egypt and Rome. In public appearances, Cleopatra's radiant glow is undeniable. She wears flowing garments that accentuate her pregnancy, embodying both strength and tenderness. Antony stands proudly beside her, often speaking of their shared vision for their child and their kingdoms. As the time of her delivery approaches, the couple prepares for the challenges ahead. They know that their child will be born into a world of political intrigue, but they are determined to create a nurturing environment filled with love and support. In the quiet moments before the birth, Cleopatra often finds herself reflecting on the legacy they will create. "I want our child to grow up knowing the power of love," she tells Antony one evening, her eyes glistening with emotion. "And they will," he replies, pulling her close. "We will teach them to embrace both their heritage and the strength of our bond." Finally, the day arrives when Cleopatra gives birth. The palace is filled with a palpable sense of joy and anticipation. As she holds their newborn in her arms, she looks into Antony's eyes, and they share a moment of pure bliss. "This is our legacy," Cleopatra whispers, her heart swelling with love. "Together we will shape their future." Their child, a symbol of hope and unity, embodies the love that brought Cleopatra and Antony together. As they embark on this journey of parenthood, they know that their love story has only just begun, a tale of resilience, passion, and the unwavering belief that love can conquer all. As the sun rises over Alexandria, Cleopatra and Antony embark on the new journey of parenthood, their lives forever changed by the arrival of their child. The palace is abuzz with excitement, filled with the laughter of courtiers and the joyful chatter of advisors discussing the implications of this new chapter. In the days following the birth, Cleopatra finds herself enveloped in a cocoon of love and responsibility. Holding their child, a beautiful baby girl, she realizes that her priorities have shifted. The political landscape still looms large, but her focus is now on nurturing this new life and ensuring a bright future for her family. Antony, too, is captivated by his role as a father. He often cradles their daughter, marveling at her tiny fingers and delicate features. "She is a symbol of our love," he says, looking at Cleopatra with pride. Together we will raise her to be strong and wise. As they navigate parenthood, Cleopatra and Antony also face the challenge of balancing their duties as leaders. The Senate and the citizens of Rome are watching closely, eager to see how the royal family will influence the political landscape. There are whispers of skepticism, and some fear that Cleopatra's attention to motherhood may distract her from her responsibilities. Feeling the pressure, Cleopatra resolves to prove that motherhood and leadership can coexist harmoniously. She organizes public appearances that highlight her commitment to both her family and her kingdom. In these moments, she skillfully blends her roles, demonstrating the strength and grace that define her character. During one such event, she stands before a crowd, holding her daughter close. This child represents the future of both Egypt and Rome, she declares, her voice resonant with conviction. Together we will forge a legacy of unity and strength. The crowd erupts in applause, and even some of her critics can't help but be swayed by her resolve. Her ability to balance her maternal instincts with her leadership qualities begins to shift perceptions, instilling hope among her supporters. As the weeks turn into months, you can see how their love has evolved. Cleopatra and Antony often steal quiet moments together, sharing their dreams for their daughter's future. They discuss the values they wish to instill in her: courage, compassion, and a deep understanding of the world around her. Yet amid the joy, challenges persist. Marcus Valerius remains a formidable opponent, using every opportunity to undermine Cleopatra's position. He questions her ability to govern effectively while being a mother, attempting to exploit any perceived vulnerabilities. In response, Cleopatra and Antony become even more united. They hold strategy meetings discussing ways to counter Marcus's attacks while maintaining their family's integrity. "We cannot allow him to define us," Antony asserts. "Our love and our family are our greatest strengths." One evening, after a particularly challenging day filled with political maneuvering, Cleopatra finds Antony in the gardens, deep in thought. She approaches him, her heart full of empathy. "We will face him together, won't we?" she asks softly. Antony turns to her, his expression fierce yet tender. "Always. Our love is unbreakable, and we will protect our family and our legacy no matter what." As time goes on, their daughter grows, and so does their determination to create a world where love and strength coexist. They begin to involve her in their discussions, teaching her about leadership and the importance of empathy. In quiet moments, Cleopatra often reflects on the journey they have taken together. She realizes that motherhood has not diminished her power. It has enhanced it. Her love for Antony and their child fuels her ambition, inspiring her to fight not just for their family, but for a better future for all. One night, as they watch their daughter sleep peacefully, Cleopatra leans against Antony, her heart brimming with love. "We have created something beautiful," she whispers. "Our love will guide her." Antony wraps his arm around her, pulling her close. "And together we will ensure she grows up in a world where love is the foundation of strength." Their love story continues to unfold, a tapestry woven with threads of passion, resilience, and hope. Cleopatra and Antony stand united, ready to face whatever challenges the future holds, knowing that their love will always be their greatest ally. As Cleopatra and Antony embrace their roles as parents, the political landscape grows increasingly complex. The birth of their daughter has not only strengthened their bond, but also intensified the scrutiny they face from their enemies, particularly Marcus Valerius. In the Senate, Whispers of dissent grow louder. Marcus seizes the opportunity to question Cleopatra's ability to lead effectively while raising a child. His rhetoric becomes sharper, framing her motherhood as a distraction. Can a queen who is preoccupied with her child truly safeguard the interests of Rome? He challenges, stirring unrest among the senators. Cleopatra, aware of the mounting pressure, knows she must take decisive action. She gathers her closest advisors and Antony to devise a strategy that will counter Marcus's narrative and reinforce her position as both a mother and a leader. Motherhood is a strength, not a weakness, she asserts during their meeting, her eyes shining with determination. We will showcase my commitment to our child alongside my dedication to Egypt and Rome. Antony nods in agreement. Let's organize a series of public engagements that highlight your dual role. We can emphasize that a strong leader is capable of nurturing both a kingdom and a family. With their plan in motion, Cleopatra begins to participate in community events, engaging with citizens and emphasizing the positive impact of her motherhood. She speaks openly about the importance of family values and leadership, sharing stories of her own upbringing and the lessons she hopes to pass on to her daughter. During one such event, she addresses a gathering of mothers and families in Alexandria. As a leader, I understand that our strength comes from our connections, our families, our communities, she declares. I will fight for a future where our children can thrive, filled with love and opportunity. The crowd responds enthusiastically, and you can feel the tide shifting. As Cleopatra continues to advocate for the importance of family and governance, her support among the populace grows. The citizens begin to see her as a relatable figure, a mother who understands their struggles and aspirations. Yet Marcus Valerius remains relentless. He counters Cleopatra's efforts with cunning tactics, sowing seeds of doubt among the senators. He tries to frame her public appearances as mere distractions from her duties, claiming that her focus on motherhood indicates a lack of commitment to Rome. In response, Cleopatra and Antony intensify their efforts. They hold joint appearances where Antony publicly praises Cleopatra's strengths as both a leader and a mother, reinforcing that their partnership is built on mutual respect and shared goals. Together we are stronger, he proclaims, his voice resonating with conviction. As the political tensions escalate, you witness the love between Cleopatra and Antony evolve. They become each other's confidants and sources of strength, navigating the complexities of parenthood and leadership hand in hand. Quiet moments spent together, discussing their hopes for their daughter and their vision for the future, become a refuge from the chaos outside. One night, as they sit together under the stars, Cleopatra confides in Antony. Sometimes I worry that I won't be able to protect our child from the political strife, she admits, her voice tinged with vulnerability. Antony takes her hand, his expression unwavering. We will raise her to be resilient, just as we are. Our love will be her foundation, and we will ensure she understands the world she is part of. In the months that follow, Cleopatra's tireless efforts begin to bear fruit. The citizens rally around her, recognizing her as a symbol of hope and strength. Even some senators who once doubted her begin to acknowledge her capabilities as a leader. However, Marcus Valerius is not easily deterred. He devises a new strategy, attempting to exploit any weaknesses in Cleopatra's narrative. He spreads rumors insinuating that her focus on motherhood has made her vulnerable to manipulation, hoping to sway public opinion back in his favor. In response, Cleopatra and Antony decide to hold a grand event, a public forum that invites open dialogue between the leaders and the citizens. They want to demonstrate transparency and show that they are listening to the concerns of the people. The day of the forum arrives, and the palace is filled with a diverse crowd. Cleopatra stands poised on stage, radiating confidence. She addresses the audience, acknowledging the challenges they face as a united front. "I am a mother, a leader, and a partner. I stand here today to listen to you, to understand your hopes and fears." As she opens the floor for questions, you can feel the tension in the air. Citizens voice their concerns, but Cleopatra responds with empathy and clarity, addressing each issue head-on. With Antony by her side, they reinforce their commitment to the people. As the forum progresses, the atmosphere shifts from skepticism to solidarity. Citizens begin to see the strength in their leadership, recognizing that Cleopatra's motherhood complements her role as a queen rather than detracts from it. By the end of the event, the crowd is buzzing with renewed hope. Cleopatra and Antony stand hand in hand, their love and partnership shining through the challenges they have faced. In the weeks that follow, Marcus Valerius finds it increasingly difficult to rally support against them. The love story of Cleopatra and Antony, one of resilience, partnership, and family, becomes a powerful narrative that resonates with the people. Together, they have not only solidified their position, but also created a legacy that embodies the strength of love in the face of adversity. As they look toward the future, you sense that their journey is just beginning, filled with promise and the unwavering belief that love can conquer all. As the political tides continue to shift in favor of Cleopatra and Antony, a sense of stability begins to settle over Alexandria and Rome. The couple's love story has not only weathered the challenges of leadership and opposition, but has also become a beacon of hope for their people. With the support of the citizens growing stronger, Cleopatra and Antony decide to take bold steps toward solidifying their alliance. They host a grand event, a celebration of unity that will bring together leaders from both Egypt and Rome. This occasion serves not just to showcase their partnership, but to symbolize a new era of collaboration and understanding between their two nations. The day of the celebration is filled with color and joy. The palace is adorned with flowers, and the air is vibrant with music and laughter. Cleopatra, radiant in her regal attire, stands beside Antony, who looks at her with pride and admiration. Their daughter, now a lively toddler, plays at their feet, embodying the love they share. As the festivities unfold, Cleopatra takes to the stage, her voice carrying a message of unity. Today we celebrate not just our alliance, but the strength that comes from embracing our differences. Together we can create a future filled with promise and opportunity for all our children. Antony follows, emphasizing the importance of collaboration. Our partnership is a testament to what can be achieved when we stand united. Let this day mark the beginning of a new chapter for both Egypt and Rome. The crowd erupts in cheers, and you can feel the energy shift. The love between Cleopatra and Antony resonates deeply with the audience, inspiring hope and optimism for the future. As the sun sets, casting a warm glow over the festivities, Cleopatra and Antony share a quiet moment away from the crowd. They look out over the gathering, a sense of fulfillment washing over them. "We have come so far," Cleopatra says, her voice soft with emotion. "Our love has been our greatest strength." Antony nods, his gaze unwavering. and it will continue to guide us as we forge ahead. Together we will raise our daughter to be a leader who embodies the values we hold dear. In the months that follow, Cleopatra and Antony work tirelessly to strengthen their alliance. They engage in diplomacy, fostering relationships with other nations and ensuring the prosperity of both kingdoms. Their love story becomes a symbol of resilience, inspiring others to believe in the power of unity. As time goes on, Cleopatra and Antony's daughter grows, embodying the ideals her parents instilled in her. She becomes a beloved figure among the people, a reminder of the love that brought her parents together and the hope that they have cultivated. Eventually, Cleopatra and Antony realize that their journey, while filled with challenges, has created a legacy that will endure through generations. Their love story, once fraught with political peril, has blossomed into a narrative of strength, compassion, and unity. As they stand together, hand in hand, overlooking the city they have fought to protect and unite, you sense that their love will continue to inspire not only their family, but all who follow in their footsteps. In the annals of history, Cleopatra and Antony's tale becomes a timeless testament to the belief that love, when nurtured and celebrated, can conquer even the greatest of challenges. Their legacy will carry on, a story of hope that transcends time, reminding future generations of the power of love and unity. With hearts full and spirits high, they step forward into the future, ready to embrace whatever comes next, together.